B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back here in Aventura, Florida, during our Shiur on the Stump the Rabbi. You aged, things like that happen to you. B'ezrat Hashem, today Shiur will be for Ilui Nishmat Julie Bat Gertrude, and also for a Refuah Shlema for Sharon Bat Avraham and Tinoket Bat Sharon. Also for Rabbi Ephraim Ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Yitro Ben Avraham, Talia Bat Sarah, Stefan Ben Katarina, Yosef Yitzchak Ben Baila Rochel, Michal Bat Yael, Serach Bat Batya, Batya Bat Sarah, Orit Bat Ilana, and also Atzlacha Rabba for Shaul Ben Farzane, Yitro Ben Avraham, Marsha Bat Julie, and also Ayla Bat Marsha. הקדוש ברוך הוא יברך אותה בכל מכל כל, חיים ארוכים, שלמים, מלאים תורה, מצוות, גמילות חסדים. And also for all of the tomchim, all of the contributors to our Torah, to our Zikui Arabim, all the wonderful things that Irgun Be'ezrat Hashem does and tries to do. There's, Baruch Hashem, so many different projects, you simply can't even get to them. But a lot of good things happening. Where the short update, in regards to a space, a few people are asking us in regards to the yeshiva, in regards to the new location, and so on. So, of course, anything that you try to do good, there's going to be some stumbling blocks. We're still looking. We moved to Cooper City, and we highly recommend everybody that wants to move, whether you're from Holland, or you're from a different part of America, or you're from wherever you are and you want to go to a Jewish community, I'd recommend you move by us. You don't necessarily need to move there tomorrow, but I'd recommend you move by us simply because we're going to try to do a lot of big things. Try to build a Jewish community over there, a place to do the Shiurim, a Beit Knesset, B'ezrat Hashem, a yeshiva, and a lot of other wonderful things, B'ezrat Hashem. We're looking for a location right now. It's proven to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. Some spaces are vacant, but the leases are still valid technically. Some are simply not big enough. Some are too small. Some are owned by, which is the most cases, owned by landlords that can't afford to do work on the space, to build it out. So they want you to spend the money on their space. It's like, you're renting me your house and you want me to fix it. Now, if I own the house, no problem. But if I'm renting the house, it's a little bit more difficult to justify such a thing, especially since the leases are not lifetime. So, but B'ezrat Hashem, we're still working on it. Still, again, there's a few people already moving here from Texas, from Colorado, from a few other countries. B'ezrat Hashem. Again, B'ezrat Hashem, all of it's going to happen. We're actually even having people from Eretz Yisrael are going to B'ezrat Hashem move here. And I know a few people that are very zealous for moving to Eretz Yisrael will wonder, why would anybody move from Eretz Yisrael to Cooper City? It has nothing to do with Cooper City. It has to do with where they want to learn Torah and who they want to learn Torah from, and if they want to do it live or they want to do it on YouTube. Simple. You can learn on YouTube. You can learn live. The difference, Shamayim va'aretz. The heaven and the earth is a difference. It's the difference of learning live and learning from a screen. But nonetheless, again, if you have Torah wherever you are, it doesn't matter where you are, stay where you are. But if you're looking for more, Hashem, come and join us. Anyway, so that's in the process. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to need some, more tools to get this game plan going. But B'ezrat Hashem, it's going already. Anyway, we have our Shelot v'Teshuvot, our questions and answers, or Stump the Rabbi, we call it, where it gives you guys an opportunity to ask questions that you've had your whole life, or at least the last week, and B'ezrat Hashem will give you answers. Sometimes you guys have questions, but that's only when the camera is off. When the camera is off, you have 500 questions. But camera's on, I don't know, apparently everybody becomes a mute. So if you have questions, you could ask questions. If not, I could just give you a few chidushim that perhaps are also going to maybe not only enlighten you with a little bit more Torah, but also maybe we'll give you some food for thought to maybe ask questions about it. So sometimes I go on with the idea itself right away, but I know that people like the questions, and we run out of time. So let's see if you guys have some questions. We'll start with that, if you guys actually have questions. Don't all go at the same time. Don't go all at the same time. Relax, guys. Relax. No. Uriel.
How's your day, Rabbi?
Baruch Hashem.
Rabbi, what question have you answered that you believe the answer is worth repeating to us right now?
What question have I answered that's worth repeating right now? To be honest with you, I don't know. Every question has its own value. It all depends on the audience. It's one person could ask a question about a Midrash. And he's going to ask you, wait a minute, so you're telling me that all of Am Yisrael crossed the ocean in broad daylight and that's how it was? No, actually, no, it's not cross the ocean. What was it? The Rambam writes that they didn't cross the ocean. They didn't cross the ocean. What did they do? They went back to the same end. You go to Midrash Me'am Loez and several other Midrashim, you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made tunnels for each one of the tribes inside the ocean. He split the ocean in 12, not into 2, like it's in the movies. He split the ocean into 12, and it was a tunnel, but it was a tunnel in the shape of a rainbow. So they went on one end, they came back around. This is the reason why the Egyptians didn't run away. If it's like the movies, where the Jews passed and then the Egyptians followed them, then as soon as the waters started collapsing, the waters collapsing, some of the Egyptians would have ran away, would have went back to coast. But it didn't work that way. Why didn't it work that way? Because, as the Rambam explains it, and the Midrashim explain it, is that the Yam Suf was ripped into 12. Each one of the tribes had their own tunnel. They were able to see each other so they wouldn't become afraid. Trees and different fruits grew instantly. Anytime you wanted fresh water would come out of the salt water. The ground of the ocean was flattened so nobody would hurt their feet. It was very comfortable. The Egyptians was the opposite. But nonetheless, when the Jewish people crossed got to the point where it was the top of the rainbow, and they started turning the corner, the Egyptians thought they got to the other end. So they didn't know that they're still on the same side, and they could just simply turn around and catch them on the other side. So that's why they continued following them, and that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu ended up killing all of them except Paro. So a person that can ask questions like that, for example, for him this is worth $1 million. Why? Because his whole life he wondered, how come this and how come that? Another person, perhaps, this is not going to be as valuable for them because he cares more about how come you're not allowed to eat milk and meat, but not milk and meat, milk and chicken. Because technically chicken is not meat. It's poultry. So how come? Why does the Chachamim make such a gzerah that they care what I eat? How come? To him it makes all the difference. Now, unless you value the Chachamim, you're never going to understand such a question. Meaning, if you think that the Chachamim are like you, a human being with a head, arms, legs, eyes, nose, and the only difference between you is an age, then you're not going to value the answer. But if you're going to look at the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, it says that the Chachamim themselves says that the previous generation's Chachamim, meaning 30, 40 years before them, the previous generation's Chachamim are like angels among men. But if they were humans, we would be donkeys. Meaning, the Chachamim that were able to resurrect the dead were saying that the Chachamim before them, the previous generation, were like angels if we are humans. But if they're humans, we're donkeys. And this is people that know the entire Torah by heart, that are saying this, not the people that are talking about. So if you understand that Gemara and you understand that any sage that came before you, including the one that's currently right now 80 years old, that there's no way in the world that you could ever be like him. You could aspire to reach your full potential. You could aspire to be a Gdol Hador, but a Gdol Hador today will never be like a Gdol Ador of a previous generation. Why? There's a rule in the Torah, Yeridat Adorot. Deterioration of the generations. Deterioration. So, unless you understand that, you won't appreciate the value of the answer where I tell you, listen, you're not allowed to eat the poultry with the milk because the Chachamim said so. Why they said so? They said because the poultry, the chicken, the duck, the whatever other bird that's kosher could look like meat to somebody that's passing by, and therefore would look like you're sinning, and it's a very big deal for one Jew to see another Jew sinning. If one Jew sees a goy kill another goy, it's not such a big deal. Why? He's like, oh, they have their own rules, it's their problem. That's their problem. You're never going to see a Jew lose sleep over whether the conspiracies about coronavirus are true or not, unless they have no Torah. But if you find out that a Jew is behind it, if you find out that one Jew killed another, if you find out that one Jew hurt another Jew, you're going to lose sleep over it. Oh, I can't believe it. He did it. How could it be? For one Jew to see another Jew sinning affects their neshama. So the Chachamim said, for you to even look like you're sinning and another Jew see you, it's already a problem enough. Therefore, we got to put a fence around the fence in accordance to the Torah, permission from the Torah. Kadosh Baruch Hu told the Chachamim they're allowed to put a fence around the fence in order to protect the generation, even though the Torah says don't eat meat, bakar, meat like a cow, with milk. Don't cook it, don't eat it, don't sell it, don't benefit from it. 3 times it says it. Why 3 times? Because there's 3 different rules. Even though it says meat, not chicken. Chachamim say the takana, chicken too, duck too. Why? Because it could potentially look like it's meat. You know what I mean? It's white meat. This is black. Yeah, but maybe it's the black, and maybe after you cook it, maybe you have to put the sauce on it. It's going to look like it has a texture, it's enough. It could potentially look like to somebody who doesn't really know steak. He never ate steak in his life. It looks like that. That's enough. Chachamim say it's too much risk for a Jew to see another Jew sinning. So for a guy like that got this whole explanation, now it finally makes sense. Now he wants to learn the Midrash. That the ocean was split into 12, and that Moshe Rabbeinu flew in the air, and its eyes turned into hot coals, and he beat up Og Melech HaBashan. There was the giant picked up a mountain. Now he cares about the Midrash. Why? Because now he got an answer for a question that bothered him for 50 years. It all makes sense. So therefore, now I want to learn the rest of this stuff. And I can tell you personally, when I first started learning Torah, I didn't like Midrashim. I didn't like it. Somebody came to me and told me some story about one of the stories in the Gemara of a few sages arguing. One of the great sages arguing. Big famous debate. Sad situation. Point being is, all types of mystical things were happening there. Yeah, one sage wanted to prove himself, say, listen, if I'm right, then the water in the river will go reverse. If I'm right, the wall will fall. If I'm right, there's going to be a bat kol coming from Shor. All types of mystical things. I stopped him in the middle of the story. I said, do me a favor, don't tell me this stuff. I don't believe it. I don't know it. I don't know. I'm not at that level. I know it. Hashem runs the world, but I can't handle this right now. I can't handle this stopping rivers. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking. I don't know. I'll learn from my Rav. If he says it's different than if you say it. Well, he says that he was like a Mount Sinai for me. He was like Moshe Rabbeinu for me. You're like me. You're like me, you're trying, and I don't really know if you know what you're talking about. You're seeing rivers reversing, going back, forth, walls falling, bat kol coming from Shamayim. I don't know about that. Leave me alone for now. As I continue to learn, as I continue to have more and more Torah in my own neshama, all of a sudden I fall in love with the Midrashim. All of a sudden I want to learn it all day, all night. Why? It makes sense. You need to know all of these behind the detail, in order to know why this detail is such. Whether it's the halacha, whether it's this, or whether it's that. So, as I said, your question is a wonderful question, but for a unique reason. Meaning that it all depends on where the person is in their life and what matters to them. Because the question that you ask today may matter to you, but not to the guy next to you. But one of the benefits that you have in being part of a shiur versus, let's say, sending me one of the 300 or 400 questions that I get per day on WhatsApp and email and all the other vehicles that we have, is that when you send me a question on, let's say, the internet, on WhatsApp or something, it's not as much siyata dishmaya. It's not as much divine assistance. Why? Because that question pertains to you. Because no one else is going to see that answer. So that question matters to you. And that's it. But when you ask a question because you're part of a shiur, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed those words to leave your mouth, surely that question matters to other people that are watching the shiur either live over here or live on camera. So that's because Hashem is, you're part of the shiur, you're part of the kiur, you're part of the siyat dishmaya itself. So again, feel free to ask questions. Surely it matters not only to you but to others. But the point is that that's also a major benefit that you have in being in a live shiur versus in online or recording. Next question, yes.
Rabbi, has there been, off the top of your head, something that's like a very significant question that was asked to you that's like of great significance, like very interesting backstory, or very interesting story to that comes to mind?
Again, it all depends. It all depends on what's interesting to different people. I think one of the most difficult questions for people to understand, it's a very easy thing to explain in a superficial way, not in a detailed way, because the Rambam writes in Shmona Prakim that it's not humanly possible to understand it, but one of the most difficult things for people to understand is the concept of free choice. So free choice meaning, how does it work that I have free choice, but Hashem knows the future? Say I have free choice, great, but you also said that at the same time I have free choice, I can do whatever I want, Hashem knows the future. So if He already knows the future, how is my choice free? That's a very difficult concept for people to understand. In a simple way, because this is already answered at least twice in this series, in a simple way it's this. If, let's say for example, I write down on a piece of paper everything that you're going to do tomorrow. And then I put it in an envelope, we put it into a safe, and the guys over here are going to stay overnight, watch the safe. You go on your day, you do whatever you want. Tomorrow we come back to the same place, we open the safe, everybody's witnesses, we open the envelope, we read everything that I wrote down today about what you're going to do tomorrow, and you see that I already wrote everything that you're going to do tomorrow today, meaning I knew the future. Did me knowing your future affect your decision? No, right? Because I wrote it on a piece of paper. That's the same concept. Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows the future, but He does not affect your free choice to choose it. Why? Because for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He is one. What does it mean He is one? It's not that there's just one God. It's not just that. Meaning He is one is that He doesn't have parts. We have parts. We have a body. We have different body parts. Our neshama is separate from the body. Our ideas are separate from us. For Hashem, there's no separation. He is one. The past, the present, the future, His thoughts, His reality, it's all a piece of one. There is nothing separate from Him, which means that when He created the world, and He created the past, the present, and the future, so He already created all of the possibilities that are the outcome of your choices. Which means that you can pick whatever you want, He already knows it. What is that like? Imagine you are on a highway, and you're driving, and now you get to a fork in the road, but not a fork that's typical 1, 2, or 3 options, but rather 100 options, 1,000 options. If you go right, you're going to end up in Honolulu. If you go left, you're going to end up in Texas. If you go in the middle, you're going to end up in Zimbabwe. If you go slightly right, but northeast, northwest, somewhere there, you're going to end up in Israel, and so on and so forth. Each road leads to a different destination, right? That is your free choice. You can pick whatever you want. The destination is there regardless of what you pick. Meaning, whether you choose to go right and end up in Texas or not, Texas will always be there. Whether you choose to go left and end up in Honolulu, it doesn't really make a difference. Honolulu will always be there. Why? Because the designer already placed it there. That's in essence a Kadosh Baruch Hu. in a very microcosm explanation of it, is that regardless of what choice you have, the outcome is already there. What you choose is which outcome you want. Do you want Israel? Do you want Texas? Do you want Honolulu? Do you want this wife? Do you want that wife? You make that choice. As the Gemara says, Akol midei shamayim chutz mi'irat shamayim. Everything is from heaven except the fear of heaven. Meaning, everything, all of the outcomes and the possible choices are from heaven, but the fear of heaven is which one are you going to choose? Meaning, are you going to choose to go to the place where there's less Torah? Are you going to choose the place that has more Torah? Are you going to choose the kosher food? You're going to choose not kosher food. You're going to choose the modest woman to get married to, or the not modest woman to get married to. You're going to choose the kosher job that makes a little bit of money in the beginning, but maybe more later on, or the non-kosher job that makes a ton of money before you go to jail. Which one? The choices are available to you, and Hashem is not going to decide for you. You decide, but the outcome of those choices are already there. So in essence, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows the future, knows all of the choices, knows all of the outcomes. You still pick which road you have. So this is a very difficult concept for people to understand, and part of the reason, the biggest part of the reason, is because of ego, believe it or not. The reason why it's ego is because we are determined to believe that we are in charge of our life. No, I did it. I made the money. And I went there. And I, iPhone, and iPad, and I this, and I generate, everything is I. Because everybody wants control. You don't have any control. You don't have any control. You have control? Right? Wrong. That's the control you have. Righteous, wicked. Everything else, babkis. Tall, short, not in your control. Married, single, not in your control. Alive, dead, not in your control. Rich, poor, not in your control. Children, no children, not in your control. Live to 120 or till 20, not in your control. Only thing that's control, righteous, wicked. It's the only thing that's in your control. The problem is that people have a very, very big ego because of the secular knowledge they've learned, because of the less Torah in their life, and they're determined to be in control even though they know that they're not in control. And for that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us different little things to remind us that we are nothing, to remind us that we have no control. One of the things, for example, is you see as people age, they start becoming more like when they were born. When you were born, you had no control of nothing. You weren't even able to control your body parts. You weren't able to control your digestive cycle. And all of a sudden something came out. But you're a baby, so it's cute, and your mommy would change you, right? Now, once you're 80, it's not cute. There's nothing cute about it. But that's what happens again. With all the money that you worked for the last 70, 80 years, you think you're powerful, but all of a sudden, and something comes out. It's not comfortable, it's not funny, it's not nice, but it's a reality. And you have to decide, okay, I'm going to have to walk around with a diaper as if I'm 2 months old. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do this? To remind you, you're not in control. It's just that you didn't figure it out for the last 7 years. I'm reminding you now. Now, where do we also learn that from? Gemara Bava Metzia says there was a very, very big king that was the most arrogant person that lived at that time. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends the prophet to him and says to him, Bechani stakalti ubarati nekavim nekavim. I looked at you when I created the world, and because of you, I created the body with nekavim nekavim, meaning the holes that you have in your body in order for you to eat something and let it exit your body. To show you that I created something beautiful, smells good, looks good, but everything that you produce is disgusting. Why? Because I know that you will get the gift from me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, and then think that you got it. I gave you money, but you think you made it. I gave you a wife, but you think you got it. I gave you the kinghood and control, and you think you got it. So because of your arrogance, I created the whole digestive system for you. Not just for you, him, for us too. For us too. So the more arrogant a person is, the more difficult it is for him or her to believe in free choice, to understand it, to accept it. Needless to say, to accept the entire Torah. You know, when you see people that are rejecting the Torah, no, I don't accept what this rabbi said. No, listen, rabbi, I like everything you say except this. What, did I make this up, or is that also in the Torah? Yeah, you say it's in the Torah, but, as soon as you say it's in the Torah, but, you have arrogance. You have a big ego, and it's going to be very difficult for you to learn anything. You accept everything that you already accept on your own. It's not that you're accepting the Torah. You're accepting whatever you've arrived to on your own. And that's why the Rambam writes that a Noahide, a goy, that fulfills the 7 Noahide rules. He doesn't murder, he doesn't commit adultery, he doesn't idol worship, and so on and so forth. But he only fulfills those Noahide laws because it makes sense to him. Not because God said so. The Rambam writes he does not even get a reward for it. He goes to Gehenom, and he's considered one of the foolish people in the world. Why? You did all of the work and you didn't get paid for it. You're only going to get paid for it if you do it because God said so. Not because you arrived at your own conclusion that murder is bad, or because it was illegal, or because it wasn't socially acceptable. If you did it because God said so, you'll get a reward for it. If you don't, you get punished for it. If you wash your hands in the morning and you do natilat yadayim because God said so, chazaku baruch, you get rewarded for it. But if you do it because you want to get the cobwebs out of your eyes and go to work, you don't get a mitzvah. In fact, you'll get punished for it. How come you didn't do this mitzvah? I give you a free. You're doing it anyway. Why couldn't you just say my name? So the point is that what we have a difficulty with is truly because of our ego. Our ego gets in the way, and it gives us the thought that we are greater than what we are. We are in control of more of what we really are. And it makes us reject the sages, it makes us reject the Torah, and needless to say, it makes us reject Hashem. The one most important rule that we learn from Parashat Noach, it says that Noach ish tzaddik tamim bedorotav. If he's tzaddik, why are you mentioning he's tamim? It says that he's tzaddik, he's righteous, but he's tamim, he's complete. Isn't tzaddik complete? Why are you mentioning it both? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this Noach is tzaddik, is tamim. Chachamim tell us, to be tzaddik, you could look like a tzaddik. But to be tzaddik in the eyes of Hashem, you have to be complete. What does it mean complete? Anything Hashem says, anything the rabbis say, the righteous ones, not the Erev Rav, anything they say, you accept it blindfold. Don't wait until you understand it, just like you don't wait until you understand the antibiotic, how it works, before you take it. Don't wait until you agree with it. Don't wait until you like it. No, you accept it. Why? Tamim tiyem Hashem. I'm complete with Hashem. He says it, I do it. No, but it's the rabbi said it. It's the same thing. The rabbi is Talmid Chacham. He said it, it's the same thing as God said it. That's the halacha. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. That's it. That's what God said it. It's Mount Sinai. No, but isn't there rabbinical mitzvot and biblical mitzvot? Yes, there's rabbinical mitzvot and there's biblical mitzvot. There's a biblical mitzvah that says don't violate Shabbat, death penalty, right? There's also a biblical mitzvah, don't steal. But for stealing, you have to pay double. What about rabbinical mitzvot? You violate rabbinical mitzvot, all of them a death penalty. All rabbinical mitzvot, you violate them is death penalty. In the hands of Hashem. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is willing to forgive his own kavod, but not the kavod of his talmidim. Not the kavod of his netzigim, his representatives. Not willing to give up on that kavod. That's why the Gemara says in Masechet Avodah Zarah, someone that makes fun of a Talmid Chacham, and there's no trufa lamakah, there's no medicine for the hate that he's going to get. There's no medicine for it. You made a nice poster making fun of a Talmid Chacham. You made a movie against Talmid Chacham. You making fun of Talmidei Chachamim. Real Talmidei Chachamim. Not people that are making fun of the Torah or distorting it. Real Talmid Chacham. You're making fun of him. You say, nah, come on. Who wants to listen to this guy? The Gemara says, it promises in Mamash, words of Hashem. En trufa lemakato. There is no medicine to the hit that he's going to get. You know what no medicine means? Cancer. No medicine means AIDS. No medicine means a disease no one even ever heard of. That's the type of makkah. And people are surprised. Oh, wow, you hear? Wow, this guy got cancer. He was only 28 years old. I can't believe. Why is God doing it? Why is God doing it? Look at his Facebook account. Look how many rabbis he's making fun of. Look at all of the Talmidei Chachamim he's making fun of. What do you mean, why did he do it? Surprising he took that long. Look how much mercy Hashem had. He gave him 28 years. But that's the thing. So, again, bigger ego, less Torah. Smaller ego, more Torah. One of the biggest proofs that we have is the greatest that we have that ever lived among us. Avraham Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech. All of them, what were they known for? They were known for their simple, non-existent ego. Avraham Avinu says that I am afar ve'efer, I'm a dust and ashes, nothing. Moshe Rabbeinu said, ve'anachnu ma, I am nothing, outright nothing. David HaMelech, Melech Mashiach says, ani tolad velo ish, I'm a worm but not a man. So how could somebody that's Melech Mashiach, how could somebody that's the Mashiach before him, Moshe Rabbeinu, only person to ever speak to Hashem face to face? How could Avraham Avinu was able to create cows, create anything. He had the book of the Sefer Yetzirah. He was able to create stuff. When the Malachim came to him, he told his son, okay, let's get some calves, make him one calf for each one. One of the calves ran away, he chased after him. That's how he discovered the Me'arat HaMachpelah. But he realized that if I have to go find another one, it's going to take too long. So you know what? He took some mud, created a cow, and let's go. He created a cow to go feed the Malachim. He didn't know the Malachim. He created a cow. Why did he create a cow? He said it's going to take too long, the guests are going to wait too much. That explains, by the way, so you know, you see in Sefer Bereshit, in the whole Sipur, in the whole story of how Avraham Avinu had these guests, had these 3 Malachim. He thought there were 3 Arabs. And he fed them, what did he feed them? Milk and meat. And people ask, how could Avraham Avinu, that fulfilled the entire Torah, feed his guests milk and meat? He's fulfilling the entire Torah. TeShuva is, you go to the Zohar Kadosh, it says, what? He's allowed to feed them milk and meat. Why? Because the cow wasn't real. He created it. It's not a cow that came from a mother. That kind of cow, if you create a cow, you can feed it, you can eat it with a cheeseburger. No problem. If you create a cow, you can eat a cheeseburger from that cow, not from a different cow. But unless you can, if you can't, then you have to eat burger this and cheese 6 hours later. So Avraham Avinu created a cow. That's what he fed them, milk and meat. Milk and meat. Everything has an explanation, but unless you're going to go to the Midrashim, unless you're going to go to the Chachamim, unless you're going to lower your ego and know that whatever doesn't make sense to me, it's because I don't know anything. Yeah, but I just finished another Masechet. You still know nothing. I finished all Shas. You still know 0. No, why? Don't I know at least the Shas? No, you know nothing. Nothing. Whatever you learn is still nothing in comparison to the Torah. The lower your ego is, the more you're going to become a vessel for the Torah. The bigger your ego is, the more you're going to reject the Torah. And that's why the Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat, the Torah for a person can either be some chaim or some mavet. Either the portion of life or portion of death. If your ego is small, it's a portion of life. Ego is big, portion of death. Meaning you can learn a lot of stuff and take their Talmid Chacham and make mistakes non-stop, become a big Chilul Hashem, walking Chilul Hashem. And a lot of those people unfortunately spend a lot of time online making all types of comments, all types of psak din, all types of stupid comments that they make, thinking that they are the Mara Da'atra of Facebook. They are the Mara Da'atra of Twitter. They are the Mara Da'atra of some blog that they have, not realizing that for every single letter they write on the internet, they're going to put another chamber in Gehenom specially for them. But they think they're doing a mitzvah. And that's how the Satan himself fools people. With a kippah, with a beard, with kisui rosh, into thinking they're doing mitzvot, but in reality they're digging themselves a Gehenom. So, to answer you, we can go on this particular subject for 5 years. Point being is, it's all about ego. Ego. You have a big ego, your Torah is going to be samam of it. It's going to be portion of death. Small ego, sam chaim. Next question. We're going to get somebody having an ask. Yes?
A simple question, I think it is.
Only simple ones. Give me a freebie.
Yeah.
The rest of these guys are asking me tough questions. A half hour to respond.
a hot plate, when you put the food for Shabbat,
כן.
to let it heat up, you know, you put the food in there, you turn it on before Shabbat comes in, Friday. And after Shabbat comes in, the meat is in there. Let's assume there's a piece of steak on there. Are you allowed on Shabbat to take that meat and to turn it on the other side so it becomes well done, or it becomes as warm as the other side, or you're not because you're actually heating it up?
Okay, so any food that you put on the plata, on the hot plate, before Shabbat, already has to be ready. The hot plate is for the purpose of it being heated up, not for it to be cooked. So even your chulent, let's say you make chamin. Chamin, usually the longer it cooks, the better it is. But even that chamin that you put, you can't put it completely raw 5 seconds before Shabbat, turn it on, and it'll be ready by tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It already has to be at a point where it's edible. It's edible, and before Shabbat. And in essence, all you're doing is just continuing to heat it up, and it's making it more edible and more tasty. So if that steak was not edible already before Shabbat, you're not allowed to eat it. So you have to be very, very careful with stuff like that. The hot plate is not to cook your food. The hot plate is to heat your food. It's to heat your food. Now, when it comes to specific things like solids, it's a lot easier to heat and to not necessarily wait until it's completely done, because if you cook it for too long, you're going to burn it and so on. The one issue that confuses a lot of people is soup, things that are liquid. You have to be very careful. If you have a soup that you've made already before Shabbat, it's ready before Shabbat, you put it on a hot plate, so into Shabbat it's already on a hot plate, right? That soup, once you take it off the hot plate, once you take it off, you serve everybody, you're not allowed to put it back on a hot plate for the rest of Shabbat. Because then you'll be actually with the water, because it's actual so much, the majority of it is liquid, you'll be recooking it. And that's forbidden. You're only allowed to leave it on the hot plate before Shabbat, leave it on the hot plate for as long as you want. But once you take it off, it has to stay off. So you have to know these halachot Shabbat. Anyone that does not have a book in their house, a single book, there's a whole series of books. But I have a single book. It's in our Shiur package. Whoever doesn't have one, let me know. You can order it online. If you don't have any money, I'll just give it to you for free. But for anyone that needs to know halachot Shabbat, just wait for me after the lecture. I have some books in my car. We'll give you a simple book, one simple book with all of the basic halachot for Shabbat. Now, of course, Shabbat is an endless subject. You can learn from now until the end of the millennium, and it's still not finished. But there are basic day-to-day things you need to know, like the ones we just explained. Why? Because what ends up happening is that if you don't know the basics, for sure you're violating Shabbat. And not knowing is not an excuse in Shamayim. So you have to know it. I recommend, generally speaking, for people to learn Ilchot Shabbat from simple books. Simple books in the beginning. One book, or let's say if you're Sfaradi, Yalkut Yosef, it's 3 books, it's simple language. Don't learn Halachot Shabbat from the Shulchan Aruch on your own if you're just starting out. Why? You're not going to understand how to apply it. You have to learn this from simple books. I learned Halachot Shabbat in the beginning from a children's book. I've already said this several times in the past. I learned basic Halachot Shabbat from a children's book. It's called 39 Melachot of Shabbat, or Sabbath. Written by Ashkenazim, Talmidei Chachamim, Tzadikim. That's how I learned in the beginning. Why? Because that's where I was. Now, if you think that you're better than I was, I promise you you're not. I promise you you're not. I'm human, you're human. I put my pants on one leg at a time, you put your pants on one leg at a time. But the people that have an ego, no, come on, I'm going to go straight to the source. I'm going to learn Halachot Shabbat from the Gemara Masechet Shabbat. Well, guess what? You're not going to learn from Masechet Shabbat, because Masechet Shabbat in the beginning talks about Chanukah. Chanukah. Well, but it says Masechet Shabbat. Yeah, it says Masechet Shabbat. You learn about Shabbat, Masechet Shabbat. You learn about Shabbat, Masechet Avodah Zarah, Masechet Sanhedrin, Masechet Brachot, and many, many Masechtot. Masechet Moed Katan. You learn about Shabbat all over that. That's why the Rambam did us a favor and took all of the rules, put it in the Mishneh Torah, put it in the Rambam, then Rabbi Yosef Karo put it in the Shulchan Aruch, then the Chachamim put it in their own different psaks in different places around the world, different poskim, different shelot that became relevant in a generation, and then the Chachamim more recently put it in the smaller, simpler books of what's relevant to you and your little iPhone. Now, unless you're spending your whole day at a kollel, and you're a Talmid Chacham, and you know Hebrew fluently, and you know what you're doing with the Gemara, you know what to do with the poskim, you know what you're doing, You need to learn from a basic book in the beginning. Why? You simply need to know yes, no. Yes, no. It's not for you to decide. You know what? I think what he means over here. No, it's not for you for what you think what he means. You're in first grade. Yes, no. Yes, no. For how long? Until you know all the yes, no's by heart. Until you can give a shiur about all the yes, no's, you do yes, no's. That's what you have to learn. Why? Because violating the yes, no is much worse than you missing a chapter in the Shulchan Aruch because you weren't yes, no. You have to know. Anyone who doesn't have it, I have some books in my car, give it to you for free, Mr. Hashem. Only for $100 for free. No, for free. Okay, no, with $1,000 donation. No, for free. Just kidding. Free. Chabad, yes.
In this week's Parsha, in the context of bringing offerings, Rashi comments on a phrase in any place that you see, saying not to make an offering wherever we wish, but that one may bring offerings outside the Beit HaMikdash by the word of a prophet.
Okay.
For example, by Eliyahu,
Eliyahu Navi, okay.
So, how is this exception not abused by false prophets?
Well, as far as the false prophets do it. The false prophets do it, and that's actually part of the tools that the Chachamim use in order to identify a false prophet. The korbanot, the whole issue of korbanot and sacrifices is something that we had the permission to do before the Beit HaMikdash. Avraham Avinu brought a korban, Noach brought korban, Moshe Rabbeinu brought korbanot. But then David HaMelech brought, we had. But then once the Beit HaMikdash was built, that's it. You were no longer allowed to bring a korban anywhere else outside of the Beit HaMikdash. Once the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, that stopped. Second Beit HaMikdash started again. Second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Hashem Yishmor V'Yatzil. We were no longer allowed to bring korbanot, to bring sacrifice. Take a calf, take a cow, take a chicken, dove, take chavitot, all types of different types of sacrifices, forbidden from doing any sacrificial things. As the Prophet says, what do? We still pray, and that is a replacement for our sacrifices because that is something we did do at the Beit HaMikdash. And actually, the prayers that we pray today, same prayers that we prayed at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they were more significant than the actual cow being sacrificed. So nothing really changed as far as the sacrifice, except that it's not a cow, it's just a prayer. Now, there are obviously there are certain exceptions like you're mentioning. Prophet comes, but prophecy ended at the same time, or even beforehand. But if, let's say, Eliyahu Navi would come, Beit HaMikdash would come with him also. That's one of the things, Eliyahu Navi, next time he's coming with the Beit HaMikdash. So now, what the false prophets do, is the false prophets tell you, no, I'm a prophet, I'm going to misuse this verse, and I'm going to do a sacrifice because I'm a prophet. One of the most recent examples we have is Shabtai Tzvi. Shem Reshaim Yerkav. Shabtai Tzvi was a false prophet who most famously he was a Talmid Chacham. He knew a lot of Torah, and he had different Kabbalistic knowledge. Some people say witchcraft, whatever it was. In essence, leading people to believe that he is the Mashiach, and he would do what he would do that would baffle people. Is he would simply make a blessing, take a pig, take bacon, say Baruch Atah Hashem, Matir Asurim, makes the forbidden allowed. Go with a married woman, Baruch Atah Hashem, Matir Asurim, go with the married woman. He made every sin in the Torah. Why? He's a prophet, he's a Mashiach, he said. That's how the Chachamim knew that he's a faker and didn't follow him. Who followed him? Unfortunately, many ignorant people. A few Chachamim thought that he was really a Mashiach, but obviously even Chachamim make mistakes. But the point being is that one of the things that made it obvious to everybody, one of the main things that made it obvious to everybody that he's a Rasha, is this particular thing. This particular thing that he would simply make the forbidden allowed. Make the forbidden allowed by making a blessing on it. Simply making a blessing on it. Baruch Atah Hashem, Matir Asurim. And he would do it often, and obviously that's one of the ways that he was exposed. So this is why the Chachamim say that even if Moshe Rabbeinu himself comes and he tells you no longer have to put on tefillin like the Torah says, not only you don't listen to him, you have to kill him. for changing the Torah. For changing the Torah. Anyone who changes the Torah is death penalty. Now we don't have a Sanhedrin, but the point is, if we had a Sanhedrin, and somebody would say that they are Moshe Rabbeinu and they're changing the Torah, or even Eliyahu Navi, or whoever, would come, not that there's sizes or bigger or smaller, but you get my point. Somebody would say to change the Torah, we kill him. Now today we don't have a Sanhedrin, but you get the point. The point is that it's a very, very severe crime to change the Torah, but that's one of the tools of the false prophets, and there is a sefer that is a sefer of the last couple thousand years, different false prophets we've had throughout the generations. At the time of the Rambam, the Yemenites were struggling not only with the Muslims that were pretty much forcing them to convert to Islam, but also they were dealing with false prophets over there. And the Rambam Mamash saved them. And that's why until this day, the Yemenites hold by the Rambam and not by the Shulchan Aruch. Now many that have moved to Eretz Yisrael hold by the Shulchan Aruch because Rav Ovadia told them this is what you have to do because that's the rule of the land there. But the ones that still live in Yemen and other parts of the world, many of them still hold by the Rambam only, not by the Shulchan Aruch. Because Mamash, they hold Rambam as their Moshe Rabbeinu. For the right reason. He Mamash saved the Jews of Yemen. Now they also dealt with a false prophet. At the time of Rabbi Akiva, Bar Koziba, he was a false prophet. And we had many, many of them. Nobody is obviously confused when you say that Yoshke is one of the false prophets. Unfortunately, the worst one. The worst one. Now you could say he didn't, you could say he did. Bottom line is, there's a couple of billion people think that he's somebody that he's not. And he's caused more Jews to sin than anybody else in the history of mankind, this Yoshke. And unfortunately, over the last 20 or so years, over 500,000 Jews have converted to Christianity because of the false teachings that are taught by Christianity in the New Testament. Now, one interesting question is that somebody asked one time, Rabbi Ephraim, it says that there's a prophecy that when Mashiach comes, or at the time of Mashiach, the pig will become kosher. So how could that be? The pig is going to return. How could a kosher? You just said you can't change the Torah right now. So how could it be? So the Meiri explains, don't let it slip into your mind the foolish thought that a pig would ever become kosher. Don't ever let it slip in your mind and think because that would change the Torah. So what does that prophecy mean? The nations, there's Ishmael and there's Edom. Ishmael is compared to a donkey. Parable. Ishmael is a donkey. Edom is a pig. Edom is a parable for a pig. That he looks kosher, but he's not. He has one sign. Out of the two signs that a kosher animal has, he has one sign. Now, at the time before Mashiach, there's going to be a unique time where the pig is going to become kosher. Meaning, there's going to be an enormous amount of Christians leaving Christianity and converting to Judaism. And for anybody that's not sleeping under a rock, you can see that prophecy being fulfilled on a day-to-day basis. I speak to different Batei from, on a regular basis, and once in a while I ask them. I asked one time one of the big Bedins that I deal with, I asked them, how is it today from when you first started 20, 30, 40 years ago? He says, there's no comparison. He says, we used to get maybe one convert a month. One guy would come converting, a little tzaddik would want to convert, maybe sometimes with his family. That's it, 20, 30 years ago. One. So what about now? 5, 10 a day, 20 a day sometimes. We can't handle them. Can't handle them. Yeah, a lot of them are ready, a lot of them are not ready. Bottom line is, every day. I deal with converts on a daily basis, in case you guys didn't know. And every single day, more and more people send me emails asking me, please, I want to convert. I'm in Michigan. I'm in India. I'm in this way. I'm in that. All the people watching the Shiur, many of them are converts or want to be converts and different things. Every day. I can't even respond to the emails anymore. I mean, I respond as much as I possibly can, but many people wait for a response for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Not that it takes so long to respond, it's just that until you get to that message. There's 300 before you just today, and then there's tomorrow, there's going to be another 300, eventually you get to it, and sometimes you just simply don't get to it. Simply don't get to it. But there's a lot. That's the prophecy. That's the prophecy. Next question. See, your questions create more questions. In the back. Yeah. No? Okay, no. Joshua.
Sometimes when we try to explain, reward and punishment to somebody, it's like, it goes through one ear and out through the other.
Okay.
What would be a simple way to explain the concept of Gehenom and Gan Eden without, getting somebody confused?
One of the, how to explain reward and punishment without getting somebody confused? First and foremost, you have to get them to admit that they know that Torah was given to Am Yisrael at Mount Sinai by God and not by Moshe. Meaning it wasn't a person that wrote the Torah. So that's the first thing. You have to get the person to, most importantly, agree that the Torah is from God. Many people have a doubt about whether the Torah is from God or not. So the first and most important thing for you, before you teach them about Gan Eden and Gehenom, is to show them different proofs that the Torah is actually real and it's from God. Once they've arrived at that conclusion that it is from God, then they themselves will be motivated to want to know what it says. So, this God says that if you do everything He says, you go to Parashat Bechukotai, He says He's going to give you blessings. There's a dozen verses almost to talk about different blessings. Oh, Baruch Hashem, what a great God. I always knew God is great. Wow. Oh, hold on a second, I'm not finished. Then there's over 40 verses that talk about what He's going to do to you and different types of punishment He's going to give you if you don't do it. What? I thought God is good. That's the good. The warning is the good. He's telling you already before He does it, so you don't do it. So but He's saying over here, war and this and that. No, I'll explain to you. Before you read, I'll explain to you. You ever know anybody said that got cancer at 25? Yeah, okay. That's punishment. That's punishment. You ever know somebody that went to war and didn't come back? Yeah, that's punishment. You ever know that, Twin Towers, they fell, planes hit them, or missiles, or whatever, somebody hit them? Remember those things? People died, 4,000 people died, remember that? Punishment. Holocaust, 6 million people died? Punishment. That's punishment. You want that to happen to you? No. Okay, do everything He says. You don't have to go to Gehenom. Punishment of this world. Oh, your friend overdosed? Yeah, punishment. The other guy, car accident? You want that to happen to you? No. Okay, don't do it. Keep Shabbat. That guy made $20 million before he was 26, right? Remember him? He lost all of his money by the time he was 30. Yeah. You want that to happen to you? No. Okay. Keep the Torah. People need to know of punishment in this world because they can connect to it even more. Once they believe in the Torah, once they believe in reward and punishment, and then they still need a little bit more, then you give them a little bit of taste of Gehenom, of different things, and how the Malachim will have a soccer ball match with their neshama, and stuff like that. But for most people, it's not appropriate to start with Gehenom on Shiur number 1 because they're not even sure whether what you're telling them is true or it's just some scary movie that you had a nightmare about. Because what happened today is that people spend a lot of time watching scary movies, so a lot of the things that it says about Gehenom are not scary to them because they've seen it in a movie. And they actually paid $20 to watch it 2 or 3 times. So a lot of the things that you tell them in Gehenom is like, oh yeah, somebody's going to rip you apart. Yeah, I remember I saw that. Stephen King, 1996, yeah. Yeah, and then they're going to throw you away. That's, good. Yeah, I remember. That was in the face mask, this mask, that mask, Freddy Krueger. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he's there also. Stop making fun of you. Well, I saw this in a movie. You tell him car accident. Remember your friend, he's 26, he died? Yeah. What did happen to you? No, that they understand. So that's what you have to explain to them in the beginning. As their neshama purifies, their klipa, the shell that they have on their neshama as a result of all of the sins will start peeling off and they'll be able to accept the truth of Gan Eden and Gehenom better. But in the beginning, they have such a big shell that's blocking their neshama that's simply incapable of being scared of Gehenom. I have certain students, they can watch my shiur about Gehenom 1,000 times and nothing will change. They'll continue wasting seed, they'll continue making sins, nothing changes. And then there's certain students that are too scared to even watch it. Complete tzaddikim. Like, I don't need Gehenom. I already know it, I have it in my mind. I don't need to watch anymore. Complete tzaddik without watching it. What's the difference? One has a klipa the size of the equator. The other one has virtually nothing. Tzaddik, tzaddikah. So, what's the difference between the two? Desires. How much do you allow your desires to control your life? The more you allow your desires to control your life, the more klipa you're going to have. The more addicted to money, the more addicted to women, the more addicted to materialism you are, the more addicted to your desires, your physical desires, the bigger your klipa is, the more difficult it's going to be for you to get scared from the truth, to even change anything. But on the other hand, the less addicted you are to material, the more successful you'll have a time with learning Torah, fulfilling the mitzvot. This is actually written by the Rambam in his commentary on Mishnayot, Masechet Shvi'it, chapter 5, Mishnah number 7, where he actually says that you have a halacha that tells you, Lifnei iver lo tasim michshol, don't put a stumbling block in front of a blind person. So he says, how come a sinner is called a blind person? How come a sinner is called a blind person?
A blind?
Blind, can't see. How come? It says, don't put a stumbling block. Meaning, if you're a woman and you walk around immodest, you're not only being a machtiyah rabim, that you're causing the public to sin, but you're also putting a stumbling block in front of a person. Even if that person is your cousin or your brother, whoever it is, you're walking around immodest, you're going to cause people to see you, you're putting a stumbling block in front of somebody. If you're distorting the Torah, you're changing things, you're putting a stumbling block. If, let's say, you invite a Christian missionary to your shul, because you want him to give you, some chizuk to the Jewish community from Yoshke, that's a stumbling block. That's a stumbling block. So, but what's the stumbling block? In front of the blind. Why is the blind? Blind is a sinner. Why is it a sinner? So the Chachamim discuss this. The Kli Yakar says, what is the most common name that the Torah calls the Satan? Samech Mem, which is an acronym for his real name. We shouldn't say his real name. Samech Mem is the name that we use. Why Samech Mem? Samech Mem also, if you actually spell Samech Mem, is Sam. Sam is drug, because its whole purpose of the Yetzer Hara is to give you a drug so he blurs your vision. He makes you blind. The sinner is blind from the truth. So the Rambam writes, why is there a law, don't put a stumbling block in front of the blind? Because the sinner is blind, because he simply cannot see the truth. Why? His desire is in the way. There is the truth that you're not allowed to look at women that are not your wife. But she's really good looking though, Rabbi. Shouldn't I enjoy the beauty of the world? There's a prohibition to not eat, prohibition from eating non-kosher meat. Yeah, but McDonald's is so good. Rabbi, come on, one time. There is a prohibition from stealing money. Yeah, but Rabbi, I give tzedakah. Mas chomesh I give, Rabbi. Without me, the yeshiva won't be built. So what does the Satan, the Malach HaMavet, do? He blinds you. How does he blind you? With a mitzvah. A mitzvah from the Satan. That's what it is. Now, the Shlomo HaMelech was the Chacham Mikol Adam. And in his Sefer Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, in chapter 4, verse number 13, he says, Tov yeled misken v'chacham mimelech zaken uksil asher lo yada liyizaher od. It says, better is a poor but wise youth than an old and foolish king who no longer knows how to take care of himself. So Chazal asks, who is this foolish king that Shlomo HaMelech is referring to? This foolish king, I mean, that's not exactly a common term to give a king. If he's a king, we don't really care how smart he is. He's a king. He says something, pretty much you just say, Chalak u'Baruch. So who is Shlomo HaMelech calling a foolish king that's old too? Satan. That's the name for the Satan. Melech Zaken Uksil. Now, Shlomo HaMelech was the wisest man of all. And if we already know that the Satan is a genius above any human being in history, how can the smartest man of all call him a fool? He's not calling him a fool. If you think he's calling him a fool, that's a foolish thought. What is he really doing here? He's saying, look at the Satan. He is a melech. He's a melech. Kadosh Baruch Hu, ze keneged ze bara Elokim. He actually made the Satan a throne of glory. He's zaken. He's been here since the beginning. He's old. He's a ksil. What's a ksil? Fool. What fool? Not that he's a fool. He fools you. His whole job and how he operates is he fools you. And the Gemara says the Satan has 7 names. 7 names. How? Why do we care if he has 7 names? He's Ra, he's this, he's that. What do I care he has 7 names? Le'avdi is like the 7 clouds that surrounded Am Yisrael in the desert. Right, left, up, down, front, backward. Yishtabach Shimo. You didn't have to walk on ground because there was a cloud lifting you so your feet never got tired. You didn't have to bathe because the cloud would wash you. You didn't have to change your clothes because it would wash your clothes too. You didn't have to worry about scorpions and snakes because it would kill them on the way. Imagine 40 years you're in Gan Eden, you're inside a cloud. Who would want to leave then and go to Eretz Yisrael? Let's stay in a cloud forever. But the Satan is the opposite. Satan comes to you 7 names, meaning he comes to you in every direction. Right, left, up, down. What does it mean right, left, up, down? What does it mean right, left, up, down? It means he's going to come to you in the obvious. Some woman that's forbidden to you. Some movie that's forbidden to you. Some place that's forbidden to you. That's on the right, from your friends. From the left, from the liberals. But also from the tum'ah of pornography and internet and all that filth, that's the bottom. But also, top. What top? From the rabbi, the guy that calls himself a rabbi. The guy that calls himself a rabbi tells you, listen, it's okay to listen to Christian missionaries. He'll quote them in his shiur. Yeah, and it says in John 16, what do you mean it says in John 16? Why do I need to learn about John 16? I'm a Jew. Why do I need to learn about John 16? What do I care about John and Johnny? What do I care about this? What are you quoting me Christians for? Well, there's some wisdom in the Goyim. Yeah, math, sciences, not Torah. It's going to come to you from the rabbi sometimes. It's going to come to you from somebody who calls himself a Talmid Chacham. Complains about, oh yeah, this rabbi, he's talking about Yoshke, and he's saying that Yoshke, and I'm not a believer in Yoshke, but still, he misquoted, and he didn't Why are you defending Yoshke? You're a Jew. No, it's not that. No, it is that. You think that you're a Talmid Chacham. It's going to come to you from that type of things. Satan is going to fool you in all types of ways. Blind you in all types of ways. And unfortunately, the Satan wins every single day. What is it like? There was one time a jeweler in Warsaw, in Germany, called Mr. Bronner. Mr. Bronner was top jeweler. All the rich people would go to him. At one time, a woman comes in, well-to-do, and she says, I am Dr. Brzezinski's wife. And everyone knew Dr. Brzezinski, he had a psych ward. He dealt with people that had mental problems, difficult cases, big money. And he says, my husband wants to buy me a birthday present, piece of jewelry. So Mr. Bronner says, what's your budget? He says, you know my husband. Price doesn't matter. So Mr. Bronner says, Baruch Hashem, okay, this is the best that I have. He opens the safe and he shows it 3 sets. Earrings, necklace, this, that, the whole thing. But 3 different ones. And Mrs. Brzezinski looks and says, wow, it's beautiful stuff. You know what? I can't make up my mind. I can't make up my mind. It's so beautiful. I can't make up my mind. So Mr. Bronner says, you know what? Why don't we let your husband, the busy husband, the doctor, why don't we let him decide? Since he's the one paying for it, let him decide. He says, you know what? It's a good idea. Let's do it. So how do we get him to come in? No, he's busy. We'll go to his office. Go to his office, we'll go there. Okay, yeah, you know what? Close the store for such a sale. It's $1 million sale. Whatever piece she picks, it's $1 million. Okay. She goes, you know what? Why don't you bring a couple of others just in case he likes something else? I said, okay, fine. So they go, they travel over there. They get to this giant building. Dr. Brzezinski, psych ward. She says, okay, listen, we can't bother my husband. He's dealing with, so let me take the stuff. I'll go inside, I show him, he'll pick something. I'll come back to you with the money, the check, the money, and I'll give you back whatever he didn't pick. Okay, no problem, wait over here. He waits, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, an hour later. An hour passes, he goes, what's going on with this woman? What did she do? So he said, you know what, let me go check. He goes, hello, yeah, Dr. Brzezinski here. Yes, who are you? Oh, Mr. Brunner. Oh, okay, 1 second. Dr. Brzezinski comes out. He goes, here you are, come on, let's go. He goes, wait a minute, let's go. Come on, let's start. He goes, no, maybe you misunderstand. I'm here because of the jewelry. He goes, yeah, exactly. Because the woman, the woman came for the jewelry. Yes, I know. So she showed you the jewelry. I know everything about it. He goes, well, I need the money. Exactly, I know. What's $1 million? That's exactly what she said. So give me the money. He goes, come on, let's go start the treatment. He goes, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He says, listen, the woman came to me already yesterday. She told me that you've been chasing after her because of some fantasy you have in your head that she bought jewelry from you for $1 million, and you keep telling you owe me money. And she says, I want to help this poor guy that keeps telling me I owe him money. So I said, listen, I can't help somebody that's a mental case without him coming to the hospital. So she said, okay, I'll bring him here. And here you are, so let's go start the treatment. And Mr. Bonner passed out. Not only passed out because he just lost millions of dollars, not only just one piece of jewelry, all of it, but he was now called a crazy person. How come she succeeded, this thief? She was well prepared, she came yesterday. That's the Satan. Satan comes to you yesterday, before you even know he's there. How does he come to you? He comes to you with a mitzvah. He says, look at you. What do you want to study? Let's do Masechet Brachot. Masechet Brachot. Yeah, Chazak u'Baruch. You're learning. You get to page 10, 12, 13, 14, Ishtabach Shimo. You're reading about Shema Yisrael. Think you're doing mitzvah. You're already Bet Shammai says this, Bet Hillel says this, they're arguing this, that. Then you see a wife sitting down in the middle of Kriyat Shema, you start yelling, No, what are you doing, you crazy woman? Bet Shammai said if you sit down on Shema Yisrael, it's better that you die. You start yelling at your poor wife. You think you're doing a mitzvah. Yelling at your wife. You don't understand what kind of Gehenom you're going to go to for yelling at your wife on such a stupid thing. You have no idea what the Satan's going to rip you apart. You know what he's doing? He's laughing. He's having such a good time. He goes, look at this guy. Look at him. He thought he became a Talmid Chacham in 6 months. Look at him. He got to page 13 of Masechet Brachot. He thinks he knows what he's doing. He's yelling at his wife for sitting or standing on Kriyat Shema. Look at that guy. I'm having a good time with a mitzvah. With a mitzvah. Or better yet, mitzvah tzedakah. Rabbi, give tzedakah. No, I'm a tzaddik. I give tzedakah, Rabbi. Oh, you give tzedakah, chazak u'baruch. You give tzedakah, chazak u'baruch. You know what's the problem is? The Satan knows you give tzedakah. So what he's going to say? He's going to send you Rabbi Shmiril. And Rabbi Shmiril doesn't have much. And he comes to you and, tzedakah. You see this Rabbi Shmiril. He says, you know what? Here, no, kach, $1,000. $1,000 large. Tzaddik. You feel like you're Moshe Rabbeinu who just lifted the mountain on your own. The next day you see this little poor Rabbi Shmirel. In the shul, there's people there. He said, no, Rabbi, did you get the nice pants? You get new ones? Because yesterday they were ripped. Oh, okay, chazak u'baruch. By the way, did you take care of your wife also? Because last time I saw the rabbinic, she smelled not so good. You got her something, right? So maybe for better smell. And what about your kids? Did you feed them? Each one of them is walking like Like they haven't eaten since the Holocaust. You feed them? You feed them, Rabbi? You feed the kids, but don't have any more kids. How are you having all these kids? Who told you to have all these kids if you know you can't afford them? You're giving the rabbi an education. Why? Because you thought you bought them with your $1,000. You don't realize that every single word that comes out of your mouth is another chamber in Gehenom for that mitzvah. For that mitzvah. Why? Satan says, look at this tzaddik. Look at this tzaddik. He gave a mitzvah. He gave $1,000 to Rabbi Shmirel. But now he also wants to give him education of how to live a life. Now he also wants to give him musal. Now he also wants to tell him what to do. Now he also wants to tell him about his wife that she needs to do this, this, and that. Now he's making fun of him in public. Making fun of him in public. And the Gemara says, Amalbin pnei chavero, en lo chelek le'olam haba. He just lost Olam haba with $1,000. You could have at least done it for free. Mitzvah. Mitzvah. He wants to yell at his wife. He wants to yell at the rabbi. Another hero wants to say, hey, listen, honey, don't bother me right now. I'm praying. Honey, don't bother me. I'm studying. The poor lady comes into his room. She opens the door. She wants to give him coffee. No, come on. I'm in the middle of a kavanah. I'm in the middle of a kavanah. I was with Moshe Rabbeinu right now. Why are you bothering me? The poor lady wanted to give him coffee. Now the hot coffee spilled on our face. And you know what's going to spill on his face? The lava that comes from the malachim, because they're so scared of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara Masechet Chagigah says the malachim, the chayot, are so scared of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, their sweat is fire that fills Gehenom. And that's what's going to burn him for learning. For doing a mitzvah and yelling at his wife at the same time. The ladies, no different. No different. You have to be careful. Why the Satan comes to you? Front, back, right, left, up, down, mitzvah, avera, in the mall, in the store, in the house, in the bathroom, comes to you in every single way. And unless you are prepared like the thief in the story from yesterday, you already lost. You already lost. So now, Rabotai Karim, how do you beat this Yetzirah, this Malach HaMavet? How do you beat him? There is a mitzvah, in the Gemara Masechet Bava Metzia, page 32b, says, Azov ta'azov imo. Says that if somebody has 2 donkeys, and one of the donkeys on the way falls, and now the stuff that was on top of him falls off on one donkey. He's free. You're riding him. He has nothing on it. The other one falls and the stuff is on him, so he's hurt. So the question is, what do you do? If you leave the guy that's free, you leave him alone, he's going to run away maybe. So shouldn't you take care of him first, tie him up first, and then take care of the guy that fell? Because the guy that fell, he's struggling, but I don't want to lose this other donkey. The Gemara says, no. First you go take care of the one that fell, because there's tzar ba'al chaim. There's the animal suffering. And then go catch the one that maybe walked away from you. So what about the Gemara says, if I have 2 donkeys, both fell. One belongs to my hater, and one belongs to my lover, my friend. So can I at least go save my friend's donkey first? Gemara says no. You go and save your enemy, your hater. You go save his. What's the pshat? What's the understanding here? Why do I have to go save my enemy? I hate the guy. I just work for him to make a living. I don't like the guy. Why do I have to go save his donkey before the guy I like? The Gemara says because go save the one that you don't like, it's worth it. Why? It's going to be working on your midot. Because you don't like him, but you're still doing the right thing, requires you to overcome your flaws and your character traits. Now, how is this applicable in real life? I'm going to ask you a brief question, and then I'm going to tell you a story, and then you go to the next question. If somebody came to you, rabbi, you were all rabbis, even the girls were all rabbis, okay, and said to you, listen, I'm new in this Torah world. You said a lot of stuff. Gehenom, kafakela, all this stuff. Fine. Moshe Rabbeinu, great. Muktzeh, fantastic. Listen, I can't handle all of it. I gotta pick one of two mitzvot that you said. Shabbat or Taharat Mishpacha, family purity. Which one should I? I'm not doing both. Maybe down the road. But right now, either Taharat Mishpacha or Shabbat. Which one should I do? Sutton in the back.
Both are already, so if he does Taharat Mishpacha, at least he's not causing his wife or spouse to have already as well. So you have to keep one, I think, Taharat Mishpacha.
Okay, Sutton says that. No? Who says? Shabbat. Why Shabbat?
Shomer Shabbat.
Shomer Shabbat. Okay. Who has a different opinion? Third opinion?
I think that I would say for him to keep the Sabbath, because when he keeps the Sabbath, it'll bring his family together.
Okay. Brings his family together by keeping Shabbat. No? Chabud?
That it's not pick and choose. I mean, you gotta do all of it.
No. I have one. I know it's not pick and choose, but I'm doing one. Which one? Tell me. Rabbi. Joshua, tell me. Shabbat or Taharat Mishpacha?
You gotta keep both.
Thank you very much for you got to keep both. I'm picking one. Give me one.
I'm sorry, it's correct.
I understand. So I'm not going to do nothing. So I should do zero?
I mean, start with what?
One. Give me one. Start with one. Which one? You're not a good rabbi right now. You got to give me one. 50-50 chance.
You gotta do both.
Got to do both. Okay. He's not lenient at all, this guy. He's a tough rabbi. Satmil. No?
One of them is Ben Adam Makom.
Ken?
One is Ben Adam Machavero.
Okay. If you say it does, tell me which one should I? I'm a new Baal Tshuva. I have one mitzvah I'm going to keep. Shabbat, Taharat Mishpacha. Which one?
I don't know which one is.
That's the question I'm asking you. Which one would you say? If I was a new Baal Tshuva, I came to you, I said, give me one. This is not an easy question. It had to go to the Gdol Ador. This question had to go to the Gdol Ador. It's a real question. It came to a Gdol Ador. It went to Rabbi Yashiv.
I would assume that.
Taharat Mishpacha. Give me a reason. Okay, what are you thinking? No? Give me a reason.
I would think it's Ben Adam Makom. Because
Okay, so Shabbat. Shabbat.
The other one is Ben Adam Machavero.
Well, I mean, technically, Taharat Mishpacha is also Ben Adam Makom. It's Taharat Mishpacha is from Hashem. It's not from your wife. Hashem said to keep Taharat Mishpacha, not your wife.
Right, but it's.
Hashem also said to keep Shabbat. Both of them are karet.
So what's the difference between those?
That's the point. Both of them are karet. Which one should I pick? Either way, I'm in trouble, but the bottom line is at least I'm keeping one of them. At least I'm going to be in less trouble. So, there's the 7 Gehenom of Gehenom either way, but the point is at least less time. You know, only 1.5 million years, not 2. No. You said your answer. You stick with your answer. I want other people to give me an answer. Well, you guys don't know hypothetical situations, huh? You guys are not such good rabbis. You're fired. No, give me one.
Shabbat, because all the people who know you break the Shabbat as a Hilul Hashem.
Okay, Shabbat. If you were, okay, so it's a tough question, guys. It's a tough question. It had to go. It's a real situation. It had to go to the Gdol Ador. Who? Rabbi Yashiv. The Rav came to Rabbi Yashiv and said to him, "Listen, Rabbi, this guy's a tough cookie. I deal with Kiruv Rechokim. I try to help people do TeShuva. This guy says, listen, I like you, I like what you're saying, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to do one mitzvah. Tell me which one. Taharat Mishpacha or Shabbat? Which one?" Rabbi Yashiv said, Taharat Mishpacha. Why is it Taharat Mishpacha? Rabbi Yashiv said Taharat Mishpacha for 2 reasons. He says, first of all, Taharat Mishpacha has to do with 2 people. Shabbat is 1 person. So at least when he does Taharat Mishpacha, 2 people are making a mitzvah and 2 people are not making a sin. Whereas Shabbat is just him keeping it. It's just him. Yeah, his wife may join, may not join, but the mitzvah itself doesn't force her to be a part of it. So that already is better. But secondly, which is the most critical, is what we learned from this Gemara, from the Chamor, from the donkeys. What did we learn from the donkeys here? From Gemara Mitzvah? We learned that if there's a donkey that fell, and it's owned by your hater, and there's another donkey that fell, and it's owned by your lover. You go help the donkey that's by your hater. Why? To work on your midot. You keep Shabbat, it doesn't help your midot. Why? You keep Shabbat, there's no real desire to go violate Shabbat. You don't have some crazy desire, I want to turn on the screen for no reason and not watch it. Haha, it's on. No one cares. It's not a desire. But to be with your wife and not to be with her for a certain part of the month, that requires you to overcome your character traits, to overcome your desires, to put everything under control and not be an animal. If he learns not to be an animal, eventually he's going to keep Shabbat in the entire Torah. That's why the Gadol Ador says, you have to do Taharat Mishpacha. Not that Taharat Mishpacha is more important than Shabbat, but rather we're going to win more with this one. Because this one requires two people, and on top of it, it requires him to work on his midot. And if he works on his midot, eventually he's going to keep the entire Torah. If he doesn't work on his midot, eventually he's going to violate Torah anyway. There's many people that keep Shabbat, Reshaim Gmurim. Plenty. This is one of the most important things. Why? Because the Satan tells you, listen, you learn, you don't have to have good midot. You keep Torah, you don't have to have good midot. Why? You're stingy, you're this, you're that, you're doing a mitzvah. So what if you told the homeless guy, no, go get a job? So what if you told the rabbi, listen, I don't think you know what you're talking about in front of his students, or at all? So what if you embarrassed your wife a few times, you yelled at her, you gave her a nice punch maybe? Like one Sadik says, listen, Rabbi, my wife gets on my nerves, so, I show her what's going on. I said, what? What do you mean you show her? What do you show her? What do you show her? Shiur Torah? He goes, no, I show her what's going on. I said, what do you show her? What do you show? What do you mean? No, last time I just, she didn't, and I said, no, speak English to me, or Hebrew, whatever you want. He says, no, she just did something I didn't like, so I gave her a nice elbow, she never did it again. I said, Tzaddik, in Gehenom, they're going to cook you. And in this world, if they had a Sanhedrin, they cut off your hands. Tzaddik, you show your rabbi. You thought you're doing good. Why? Because she didn't cook the chulent the right way, because she didn't say Kriyat Shema the right way. Tzaddik. Poor women cry to me on a weekly basis because of these Reshaim husbands, and sometimes the opposite. Poor husbands call me about their Reshaim wives because they think they're tzaddikim. They think they're doing mitzvot, but they're hurting each other in the process. You have to be very careful. Why? The Satan comes to you with mitzvot. Comes to you with mitzvot. And if you're not prepared from yesterday, you're going to fall into his hands. No, we're almost finished. Chabod, couple more questions. In the back.
The Torah refers to just a handful of people as Sadik, and one of them is Yosef. And the Chazal explained that it's because he protected his bread, and he didn't with seed, which may imply that the others did waste it or did not protect their bread. So later on we refer to Midrash that in the episode of Potiphar's wife, he was about to sin, and then he saw his father's face. He came to him, and then he saw him, and he reminded him that if he did that, the sin, he would not be inscribed in the breastplate.
Okay, Gemara Masechet Sotah.
So if he's called a Sadik because he didn't waste seed, which implies that the other ones may have wasted seed. So if they would be in the breastplate, why wouldn't it be? It would not be at that point, since that means if he's not going to be, therefore the others will be, and then he will not be because of that sin. But the others, I don't know if you see where I'm going.
I get what you're saying. Okay, so what he's saying is that the Gemara Masechet Sotah says that Yosef at Tzaddik was called a Tzaddik because he overcame the test of Brit, the Brit test, where he had Potiphar's wife in his hands pretty much, who was throwing herself at him several times. And he overcame the test, and even though when he was almost ready to sin himself, he saw the image of his father Yaakov Avinu, and which reminded him that if he does this sin, he's not going to be inscribed in the Choshen of the Kohen Gadol. And that gave him the strength, the last minute strength to overcome and not fall with her, And the Chachamim even say that because his desire was so strong, the beauty of Potiphar's wife was extraordinary also. She was one of the foremost beautiful women that ever lived in history. The seed miraculously left through his fingernails. But he literally took his hands and he broke his fingers on the floor to relieve himself from the agony of the desire that he had. And that's what made the miracle happen. And that's also, we learn from there, that sometimes if somebody has great desire, in order for them to overcome it and not waste seed, they sometimes have to inflict minor pain on themselves. Either scratch themselves or pinch yourself at a sensitive spot, like under your wrist or under your thigh, in order to relieve the desire. Because if you're a normal person, then pain and desire don't go together. If you're not a normal person, which unfortunately there are many today, you'll actually like the pain. So it all depends on whether you're normal or not. By normal, I mean like normal, not normal like today's normal. So anyway, so Yosef Tzadik had a great desire, also had a beautiful woman who actually meant well, believe it or not, and he overcame the test. So does that mean that the other brothers that were not called tzaddikim, that they fell for the test? No. The absence of the word tzaddik does not imply that they are not tzaddikim. It's just simply saying that he got a special degree for passing a test they did not have. They did not have the same test. The only exception was Yehuda, but Yehuda was something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself put together. That test himself, that whole issue with Yehuda and Tamar, that's in essence HaKadosh Baruch Hu taking two putty pieces and making it into something. That's a completely unique case. But generally speaking, with everybody else, didn't have that same test. So it doesn't mean that they're not tzaddikim. Every single one of the Shvatim was Kodesh Kodashim. Kodesh Kodashim was able to resurrect the dead, was able to do a lot of things that we cannot even fathom. They were Kodesh Kodashim. We cannot think of anything negative, any of them. Even the stuff that's written negative about them in the Midrashim or different things, we can't use this and utilize it as if it's a regular person like us and we're better than them. Or like when people read the sin of Adam HaRishon. It's like, come on, this Sluda made one sin, he only had one mitzvah, he ate the fruit, where he can't just hold himself. I can hold myself. No, it's not the same. Don't compare yourself to anybody that's mentioned in the Torah. You're supposed to learn lessons from it, but not compare. Point being is they were tzaddikim, but they're not given that specific title because they didn't have the test of Yosef Tzadik. Yosef had a unique test that he overcame. And that's actually one of the things that Rabbi Nachman Breslev and the many other Chachamim say. From there we know what is the true definition of a tzaddik as someone that protects his brit. You protect your brit, you're a tzaddik. What about if I know a lot of Torah? Doesn't mean you're a tzaddik. Mean you're a chacham, but not necessarily a tzaddik. Not necessarily a tzaddik. Tzaddik is someone who protects his brit. Now the problem is that people get fooled by the same yetzirah we just talked about for a half hour. What do they say? They call Rav Ephraim. Just today somebody called Rav Ephraim and says, Rav Ephraim, listen, I have a problem. I said, what's the problem? He said, listen, I'm still, I'm listening to the Shiurim, I do this, I do that, I keep, I learn, all that stuff. I said, no. He says, yeah, but during when I go to sleep, there's still, semen comes out. I can't overcome it. I don't understand what's going on. So Rav Ephraim says, you watch your eyes? No, come on, Rav Ephraim, watch your Shiurim. Of course I watch my eyes. Oh, okay. You learn Torah? No, come on, Rav Ephraim, I'm learning your Shiurim. Okay. So you go to the Knesset? Yeah, especially Corona, no Corona, I go, I pray 10, 20, yeah, okay. You learn. You watch your eyes. You go to the Knesset. You say Kriyat Shema Lamita before you go to sleep. Yeah, come on, Rabbi, I heard you when you show a little movie, scared the hell out of me. Yeah, I do it all the time. Oh, Yishtabach Shimo. And still, yeah. So Rabbi just got Mama Siyata Dishmaya. You have to be a chacham to think like a thief. He says to him, do you have a girlfriend? Now somebody that says he learns Torah every day, and he goes to the Beit Knesset, and he watches his eyes, and he's tzaddik. You're not going to ask him normally, you have a girlfriend. Why? It's the last thing you're going to ask a guy. What do you mean you have a girlfriend? If you watch your eyes, you watch this, you're not going to ask that question. But a chacham knows what a thief is thinking. And he asks, do you have a girlfriend? He says, yeah, so what? He says, excuse me, what do you mean, so what? He goes, no, but we don't do the actual thing, girlfriend. He says, look at that. That's the fulfillment of the verse, Melech Zaken Uksil. A king that's old and foolish. Meaning, look at that. The Melech, the Satan, the old man fooled you. You're worried about wasting seed in your dreams, but in reality you have karet every single time you see your girlfriend. You're worrying about your dreams. You have to worry about while you're alive, you're awake. You think it's okay? You think it's okay? It's not okay. And that's the problem. People worry about small things. Sometimes they say, listen, Rabbi, if I keep Shabbat like Rabbeinu Tam, you think it's going to be good for me? I said, B'ezrat Hashem. You can. You don't have to, but you can. Now, if I do Tefillin, Rabbeinu Tam, it's better than Rashi. No, it's not better than Rashi. Rashi's halacha. We should also do halacha. Oh, it's going to be good for me. B'ezrat Hashem. Now, if also I'm makpid to be besimcha on Shabbat, that's good for me. B'ezrat Hashem. Also, Seudah Revit, I make a big meal like David HaMelech. It's good for me. B'ezrat Hashem. B'ezrat Hashem. If I learn 3-4 hours straight, it's good for me. B'ezrat Hashem. B'ezrat Hashem. So how come you don't give me kavod, Rabbi? I said, because none of those things are your problem. I said, what do you mean? I said, if you stop wasting seed, it'll be good for you too. Much better than all those things you just mentioned. If you stop being an angry gremlin every single time somebody crosses you the wrong way, it'll be much better for you than all 4 of those things. You're worried about being makpid on this and makpid on that and a specific haircut and a specific this and a specific that. According to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every single day you're murdering people, either your wife or some other baby that was supposed to come to the world. And you're worried about Rabbeinu Tam? Rabbeinu Tam is crying in Shamayim, said HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why are you letting this Rasha put my tefillin on? Why are you letting this Rasha put my tefillin on? You're worried about the small, it's not relevant to you. It's not relevant to you. You have to worry about the big stuff. Big stuff. Then you do the other stuff. But that's the problem. The Melech Zakenu Ksil. I remember one time, I went to this big Knesset one time in New York, and I see a group of guys that I know. And they come out, I think it was Yom Kippur. They come to the guy, a few guys come, so listen, you coming? To where? We're going to the ocean. The mikveh, before the Yamim Noraim, we're going to, before Yom Kippur, we're going to go to the ocean, dip in the mikveh. I said, no, I'm okay, thank you, I'm good, thanks. No, but, we're going, the rabbi's coming, this one's coming. I said, Chazak Baruch, thank you very much. Sure, I thought you were, I said, no, I'm good, thanks. Okay. You know what I said, I'm not interested? Aside from the fact that I have no interest in going to the beach ever, every single one of them was a Mechalel Shabbat. Every single one of them was a Mechalel Shabbat, but they think that they're going to clean themselves in the beach for Yom Kippur by going into the ocean. That's Melech Zakenu Ksil. He makes you think that you could have the entire Torah with one single mitzvah that's sometimes not even a mitzvah. He makes you think that you're doing something good, but in reality you're murdering people. So that's the big thing. Now you're going to have a big test. You're going to have a big test like Yosef HaTzadik, Tikkun HaBRIT. Every single day a guy has to survive. Every single day a woman has to survive. Every single day women are not free from this sin. Either they cause it or they themselves also. A woman is not allowed to be promiscuous either with herself or with somebody else. The problem is that many women never learn this stuff. Point being, Rabotai, Kadosh Baruch Hu hates immorality. Hates it. Even Bilam HaRasha knew it. So a person needs to first worry about the big things and little by little grow with the other things. But the Satan is going to tell you, no, worry about the small things and that'll make up for the big things. A lot of small things make up for the big things. No such truth. No, next question. How about Sutton?
Is seeing immodesty at the corner of the eye a problem if I have the intent not to derive pleasure from it?
If
I'm
you
skating on the road, there's like an immodest person right here to my left. either have to like not recognize their existence or like kind of look in their direction.
No, I mean, there are times, yeah, right, it's a good question. So, if a woman is in front of you, not even in the corner of your eyes, corner of your eye, you know, that happens, but sometimes the woman right in front of you, you're going to the Department of Motor Vehicles, you need to get a new license. The woman that is the attendant over there just came to work with underwear. What are you going to do, not get a license? Or maybe you're going to bring the jacket from the car. He says, here, lady, listen, I want to get a license, but I want to give you a jacket as a present. What are you going to do? Obviously, you have to get your license. Or you go to a supermarket. You want to get some chalot for thing, but instead of the chalot, you get a Shem Yishmor V'Yatzil. Right? So what do? There are people that exist in the world. Jews and non-Jews. There's nothing you can do about that. They exist in the world. They are going to cross your path even if you're the most religious person on the planet. Even if you're Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, most you're going to stay in a cave is 13 years. That's it. After that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to kick you out. At some point, you're going to encounter people. What do? When you encounter those people, you are not allowed to make fun of them. You are not allowed to say, hey, Reshait, how you dressed like this? You know why? Because by doing that, you're going to inherit her Gehenom, she'll inherit your Gan Eden. To go make fun of her in the middle of the street like that, you're not going to get it. There's not a mitzvah like this. Not a mitzvah like this, to go make fun of people. You want to help somebody, you want to rebuke them, tell them something in an appropriate way, at an appropriate time, and you know you have the appropriate skills, it's a different story. But to go start making fun of people and say, filth, gross, ugly, all these things, just go to the zoo. Over there, it'll work out for you. People are people. You have to be cordial with people. That doesn't mean you have to be friends with them. It doesn't mean you have to hug every single person. But you have to be cordial. You have to be civilized human being. A woman that's modest or immodest approaches you, have to treat them exactly the same way. How is it? First, let's say they're a cashier or something like that. You, hello, and then after that you look down. Hello? Encounter, know that they exist because obviously you have to talk to them. After that, you look away. You look down, you look up, you look somewhere. Down is the best way. Yes, I need my license, and here it is. And also, this is my ID, and this is money, and this is the credit card, and this is a CD by Rabbi Reuven, and it's a license, and this is, and that's how you talk. And that's how you talk. What? Because you cannot simply say, hey, listen, lady, since you don't have any clothes on, I can't talk to you, but here's my life. No, you can't do that. You have to be cordial, respectful, which, by the way, only this generation doesn't know how to do that. Until recent history, that's how all people talked. Jews and non-Jews. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What do you mean? But you're not even Jewish. Yeah, but that's how we talk. That's how you talk if you're a civilized human being. You don't look at somebody else's wife. You don't need to be Jewish to know this. Only this generation doesn't know this. Your grandparents will call each other ma'am, lady, appropriate name, not hey. Hey's to a horse. Yes, ma'am. Here you go, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Don't look at them. You go to some old-fashioned people. You go to some old-fashioned people that are never going to look at your wife. Never. That's one of the things, by the way, you see some Middle Eastern people, Arabs, different types of people, they're never going to look at your wife. They may have crazy stuff in their head. They may do crazy stuff otherwise. But this they have. They don't look at each other's wives. Why? That's just society. That's how it's supposed to be. So you act like your ancestors act, even if they weren't religious. Hello? And you look down the whole time. Look down the whole time. That's it. That's how you do it. Now, that means what? That the first look is not a sin. To see someone that exists in the world and you're encountering and approaching them is not a sin. What's a sin? If you continue staring at them. If by the time you left, you understand the measurements of different body parts, and you know how many earrings she has in her right ear versus the left ear, and whether the shade of lipstick she wears till you already know that stuff, you have a serious problem. You look too long. All you know is a person in front of you, it's not your wife, that's it. Thank you, ma'am, thank you, ma'am, thank you. That's it, finished. Finished. Don't follow your heart. Don't follow your eyes. Why? Because although your eyes are the ones that begin the crime, how come the Torah says the heart first? How come it says the heart first? In reality, the crime starts with your eyes, right? You look at her, you have stuff in your heart, right? Marat says no. Chamim says no. The only reason why you looked at her is because those things were already in your heart. You already had desires. You were just looking for an opportunity. You were looking for an opportunity and you got it. Why? Gemara says, "Megalgelin zchut al yedei zakai vechova al yedei chayav." HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the merit to the meritorious and the obligation to the obligated. The only reason you're constantly being presented with immodest, immoral people that want to sin with you is because that's what you want to do, Pupi. That's what you want to do. You want to sin. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Bechavod, go sin." The only reason why the guy came to you for tzedakah is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this guy likes to give tzedakah, so I'm going to send him somebody that gives tzedakah. I'm going to send him somebody who wants to give tzedakah. And that's the reality. So you have to know, if you become a tzaddik, the tests will become less frequent. They'll exist, because even Yosef HaTzadik had a test. But less frequent, probably bigger, but nonetheless less frequent. If you're getting a test every 2 seconds, that's because you're causing it yourself. Yetzirah's on vacation already. You're doing it yourself. You're on autopilot. So you have to overcome that. How do you overcome it? By first preparing yesterday. That the Yetzirah is going to come. I have to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles. I already have to prepare myself how to talk to this lady. How to talk to this man. How to talk to, it doesn't matter what she is. She could be Fatima from the Middle East who only shows her eyes. I'm still not going to look at her. Why? She's somebody else's wife. And it's definitely not mine. I'm going to look down. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. In Hebrew, ken giveret, lo giveret. In Japanese, no, I'm kidding. So, that's what you do. Last question for the night. No? Actually, no, we have a little time. Yes, I'm going to try to go through everybody once until we get to the second round.
In Olam it says that there's 7 planets, and like Earth is the top of the planets, right?
Okay.
And it says on the other planets there's other creatures, like with multiple heads, right? Is that talking about nowadays, or is that talking about like before?
The Me'am Loez is actually talking about all of it is in here. It's in this world.
Yeah,
So the seven sections to this world, meaning our planet, not different planets.
Other planets?
Our planet has several different sections of it that have several different types of creatures, and the Midrash says that Shlomo HaMelech brought some of them to show his people. He brought the king of the demons. He showed it to the people. He brought a different creature that had several heads. He brought it to the people and showed it to them. He also had an enormous eagle. He showed it to the people. The eagle was so big that when he would fly, it would literally make the entire sky black. It was an enormous eagle. And so on and so forth. He had different types of creatures and he showed it. The problem is returning them to where they came from was not possible. So many of them, like for example, the person that was with multiple heads continued living and ended up marrying a regular person. And this came out, they ended up becoming a machloket, whether this person is 2 different people or it's one person with 2 heads. Whether there's a get, there's a inheritance, do the one head get more than the other 2 heads, and so on and so forth. Very interesting stuff. The point being is that all of this stuff is in this world. Now, why don't we see what Shlomo HaMelech saw? Part of the reason is because some of these things don't exist anymore, or at least we don't have the merit to see them. And part of the reason is, like I said, we don't have the merit to see them. There are certain things that are in this world right now, but you can't see them because HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not give us the vision to see him. That the Gemara says that you can see them if you do certain things, but you're going to regret the day you were born. You regret that there's certain ways that you can see all of the creatures that are around you. You can see them. You take a cat, you take a stomach, you burn it, you put the ashes on your eyes, and you're going to see a lot of stuff. The problem is there's no way to undo it. unless you're a sage in the Gemara, which you're not. And the problem is that you're going to pray to die because of how scary the world really is. So there's a lot of things that exist in the world that we don't see, but yet they exist. For example, everyone knows that radio waves exist. We use them every day. You have a phone, you have a this, you have a that, a lot of different things we have. The fact that you can call and reach Japan in 5 seconds, that's not because this phone has a wire connected to the Japan. It's because there's different things in the air that you can't see. Also, there's different sounds. For example, the dogs. Dogs, they have a different tune in their ear. So anyone that wants to train dogs usually uses a special whistle. Now, when you whistle that whistle, a regular human cannot hear it, but the dog goes crazy. The dog loses its mind. Why? Because their ear is tuned differently. And sometimes, if you actually want to hear it, there's special equipment that will allow you to hear it. And if you hear it, you'll start going crazy. Because it will drive you crazy, this sound. Same thing, radio waves, sound, different things that exist in the world. So, some of these things still exist, and Shlomo HaMelech was able to uncover it and show it to the public. Some of the things exist, and we simply don't have the merit to see them. Some of them cease to exist. So there's many, many different unique creatures. There's the Tachash, was a beautiful animal, a beautiful, beautiful animal that was created simply to be used for the Bet HaMikdash of the desert. What Moshe Rabbeinu built. That was it was used. His leather, his skin was used. And this animal was uniquely beautiful, something out of this world, but as soon as there was no purpose for it, Hashem took it from the world. It looked like a combination of a bull and a deer, but it had a single horn. So some people say, oh yeah, maybe this is the unicorn. No, it's not a unicorn, it's a tachash, but the point being is that it's a beautiful animal. There's also the re'em. Re'em was an enormous, enormous animal, similar to a dinosaur. The little baby, 2 baby ones ran and almost destroyed all of Jerusalem. There were 2 babies. They were enormous. Why don't we see them today in some family zoo? Because there's, in essence, no purpose for them in the world. They may still exist, they may not. Point being is, there are certain things in the world that we still haven't discovered. Just recently, a team of scientists, I believe from Australia, discovered a worm in one of the Asian countries that lives inside rocks because that's what it eats, which makes it very similar to the shamir worm that we had at the Bet HaMikdash that was able to cut stones. People made fun of the Jewish people saying that a worm can cut stones like a machine, like a laser machine. How could a worm do that? But recently, a team of scientists discovered this worm that actually lives inside stones because it eats the stones. A worm that's flesh, that's little gooey stuff, eats the stone. Unbelievable. Something that's against what we knew as nature. Recently discovered. So these types of creatures exist in the world. Sometimes we don't see them. Sometimes we do. They do exist, but we can't see them. Sometimes they simply extinct. Point being is that all of this stuff is in this world. Now, to finalize that question, are there aliens? Are there July 4th types of things, or little UFOs that you see the shows about on Discovery Channel, National Geographic? Oh, look, there's 3 lights and all that stuff. The Torah says nothing. Meaning, it doesn't say that they don't exist, and it doesn't say that they do exist. Why? Why no comment? Because it will never affect your life. Meaning, there will never be a July 4th movie in reality where a bunch of aliens come to America or come to planet Earth and want to take over. That will never be. Something may exist in Mars and Pluto and wherever else. It may or may not. Torah doesn't say no. But what the movies and all the conspiracy theories want you to believe that, yeah, they found an alien in Area 51 and this and that. Those creatures, if they found them at all, they're in this world. They didn't come from a different planet. They're in this world. It's just creatures that look different than you. But people say, no, but maybe he came with a spaceship like in the movies. Yeah, that's good for Hollywood. It's good for Hollywood. If there's an alien in Pluto, he's not coming here. Why? Because if he comes here, you're going to say, look at this master. Look at these kings. He has a tail, he has 4 legs. How could it be that this little master is controlling all these bigger people? Why? Because he sees the bigger people picking up the poop of the dog. So he's going to think the dog is the master in this planet. He's going to leave. He's like, who wants to be a part of this planet where the dogs are the masters? That's what he's going to come see. He's not going to come here. All joking aside, aliens are not coming to this world. They're not coming. So the time that you've spent and invested in Discovery Channel was not going to help you. Not going to help you in life. Do odd creatures exist? Yes, they do exist in this world already, and as a Midrashim talk about it, there's lots of very, very interesting creatures that exist and have existed. But it doesn't mean that they're aliens. They look like aliens to you and to me, but it's not aliens from a different planet like a movie. It's nonetheless things that are in there. Many times you'll see, if you learn enough Torah, you'll see that all of these comics, all of these superhero, many times it's simply midrashim, distorted and modernized. Simply midrashim. You pick up the midrashim, you start reading about the 12 tribes, the sons of Yaakov, you're going to find almost every superhero there was a movie made about. Why? Because the 12 tribes had superpowers. According to our standards, their powers were super. Whether it's the Incredible Hulk, or it's the Flash guy, or it's the people that turn into vampires and werewolves. All these different things, they existed in the world. So it's you read enough Torah, you're going to find it. And many times you're going to see that the people that discovered this creature, the guy that created this superhero, many times was like a former Talmid Yeshiva that went off to Derech. And make you think that he created this superhero. In reality, he just remembered a Midrash from his childhood, and he gave him a new name, and he said, "Look, I'm such a great imagination." Imagination. Imagine. You imagine yourself to be creative. That's what you imagine. Anyway, next question. Next question. HaBRIT in the back. You haven't asked something.
In Akedah, thinking of this question. No? Same question.
Again, the same question? The same question we've been arguing about for 3 months? No, what's the point? We already argued about it. Give me a question we didn't argue about.
No, there's no answer.
There is an answer, you just didn't like the answer.
Did it?
There's an answer, you just didn't like the answer. No?
If I may, what's that book that Mizrahi mentioned one time?
Rav Mizrahi's mentioned what?
He mentioned one book about Gehenom, that if you read it, you don't sleep for a month.
There's several books that mention Gehenom. When we did a shiur about Gehenom, based on Chassidut, we went over 1,400 sources. But the most common book that has a lot of it is a book called Reshit Chochmah. Reshit Chochmah has a section in it called Masechet Gehenom. It's only in Hebrew. It was not translated to English. And it has a section, B'ezrat Hashem, when I publish my first book, we will put a section of that book that we translated to English. We already translated it, but we haven't published it. Maybe one day we will, B'ezrat Hashem. That's a book that goes over Gehenom, the different chambers, the different malachim, and so on and so forth. But there are other books that discuss Gehenom randomly in different places. Now this book is not just about Gehenom, it's a Musar book. And the Rav Kuli, actually the Midrash Ma'am Loez, and several other Gdolei Ador would say that when you complete that book, that Reshit Chochmah, you should treat that day like a Yom Tov. When you complete that Sefer, in Hebrew it's 2 books. You should treat that book like should treat that day like a Yom Tov. And many Hasidim today that are Talmidei Chachamim read that book on a regular basis. Many people that think that they're Hasidim but know nothing about Hasidut, they just look like Hasidim, they're scared of that book and they say you shouldn't read it. But what they don't know is that the Baal Shem Tov would highly, highly praise this book to such an extent that his Talmid, Rabbi Nachman Breslev, read it 400 times. Talmid of the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Nachman Breslev, was proud most. What was he proud of? Reading the Rashit Chochmah 400 times. All of the tzaddikim would read this book on a regular basis, even today. But unfortunately today there are many people that the Yetzer Hara has fooled them into thinking that you shouldn't learn Musar because somehow you're good enough or you're going to learn something else. But point being is that that particular book is the one that he mentions. That's the book that we used as a main source in many of our shulim about the discussion of Gehenom, but there are many other books that talk about it, not as much detail or at much length, but nonetheless there are other books that talk about it. Okay?
The underworld creatures that you was talking about.
You want to bring one to the shiur next week?
Was that the place that Adam got sent to this location of the underworld creatures? And is Gehenom, are they like correlated, the location of the underworld creatures and Gehenom?
Okay, so we're going to the Kabbalah now. No, wait a minute. Adam HaRishon stayed in this world. He didn't go to Gehenom. He left his wife because he wanted to do TeShuva. He was away from her for almost 130 years. Made a mistake after mistake after mistake, which was worse than the original mistake, but nonetheless, he was a Kodesh Kodeshim, and he was a Adam HaRishon. He was the perfect human being, to the best that a human being can be. But no, these creatures that we're talking about did exist at the time of Adam HaRishon. He saw them, he named them. He named every creature. Every creature that exists, he gave them a name. Because he had that type of wisdom that when he would name something, he would name it based on the entire essence of that creature. So when he called a sus, a horse, a sus, it's because the nature of a sus, of a horse, is to run into war. And that's why he got the name sus. And so on and so forth. Every name that we have in the Hebrew language is based on the essence of that creature, the demons included, and so on and so forth. Now, as far as the Gehenom has two parts, and Gan Eden has two parts, meaning that the inside of Gehenom has 7 parts. But I'm talking about there's locations. There's one Gehenom in this world, and there's one Gehenom in the upper world. There's one Gan Eden in this world, there's one Gan Eden in the upper world. So there is one Gehenom that actually physically exists here. It's a physical location. And there are some people that believe that there is a recording of sound from that place that was recorded from by some drillers that went to one of the Arctic locations and dug something like 13 or 1,600 miles into the ground, and through a recording equipment just to measure where they are and what they are, and they were surprised that this recording equipment recorded screaming and yelling of people. Now, I heard this recording a couple of times, and every time I hear it, it's scary, but you could hear it and hear nothing, meaning you could hear it and say, no, this is just nothing. So it all depends on your ear. But the point being is that there are some people that say this was an actual recording of Gehenom. Whether you believe it, don't believe it, is not going to make you more righteous, not going to make you more religious. The point is that there is, with or without this recording, there is a physical place in this world that is Gehenom. There's also Gan Eden. But the bigger locations, the other ones are in the different world. They're not in this world. So Adam HaRishon did not go to Gehenom. He did not go to not this one or the other one. But Adam HaRishon is had a experience or an encounter with pretty much every creature because he named them. So as far as what kind of conversations they had, that I haven't gotten to yet. There's other Shem. No, you have a second question you've been asking one. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Torah subject to learn about or teach? So what is it?
If I have a Torah subject that I like to teach, Emet. Whatever is Emet, whatever, I mean, generally speaking, my main focus is Musar. Because I think that, just like I learned, and it's not like my own chidush, but if a person is going to learn Musar, on a regular basis, then he's going to little by little, or she's going to little by little improve their character traits and soften their character, which will make them a better vessel to learn Torah. But if they don't improve their character traits, then whatever Torah they do learn is going to be spoiled anyway. What is that like? It's like if a person learns Torah along with Musar, then he's going to put all of the beautiful ingredients on the cake, and he's going to put the sugar, exactly how much, and the all the different things, right? If he doesn't learn Musar, then what he's going to do, he's going to use a foundation. He's going to use a foundation that has mold in it, because that's the best price. But he's going to put toppings on it, and candy on it, and different Torah chidushim on it. So on the outside it looks good, like the guy knows Torah, but the real foundation is rotten. Where do you see that in real life? Many times you see people that look religious, sometimes even go to yeshiva or have gone to yeshiva, do things that are the worst things in the world. Like even a secular people won't do them. Make fun of rabbis, make fun of God, go with their shtreimel, with their hats, go to a casino or a club, Hashem yishmor v'yatzil, you go mevin yavin, what I mean by that. Go to all types of places that even civilized, regular people that are not religious don't go to, because they know it's a bad place. But you see them acting that way. Why? Because what they have is a rotten foundation with some nice, beautiful seasoning. Or sometimes you're going to see a so-called religious person, sometimes even a rabbi, who knows Torah, but will do horrible, evil things. There's some big people out there that have been caught doing horrible, evil things. There's one big rabbi in London that was caught with one of his own students that was married to somebody else. The rabbi of the Kila went with somebody else's wife. The craziest thing in the world. And he's still a rabbi. He's still a rabbi, this guy. And this woman is still being encouraged to stay with her husband, which is forbidden by the Torah. It's forbidden by the Torah for her to stay with her husband. But why? Because he's rotten, she's rotten, and all the other people over there are rotten too. All of them have this rotten foundation. And that's unfortunately what's happening in the world today. There's a lot of rotten foundations. You have people that are rabbis, but they're doing things that is not normal. It's not acceptable until we've gotten to this Sodom and Gomorrah generation. And people need to know that the Torah has musar. Musar, in essence, is a check-yourself system. This is what you're supposed to do, and you have to compare that to what you are doing. You are supposed to be kind. You're not supposed to be kind because you expect something in return. That's not kindness, that's business. You're supposed to be kind for the sake of kindness. Not because you're expecting something in return, because that's politics and business. If you're only going to give in order to return, that's not kindness, that's business. You can call it the barter system, you can call it an exchange, you call it a lot of different things. But it's definitely not kindness. You want to be kind? Kindness is a free gift with no expectation whatsoever. What does it mean, no expectation? No expectation of even kavod, of even a thank you. If you're expecting a thank you, that's already too much. Why? Kindness, real kindness, is simply a free gift. Who gives free gifts all day? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we're supposed to emulate him. And so on and so forth. So Musar is going to teach you what is true kindness, what is true cleanliness, what is true righteousness, what is true zealousness. Are you really zealous or are you arrogant? The line between them are very thin. Because many people think that they're zealous, but in reality they're just arrogant fools. They think that they're being zealous in the name of God, but in reality these are the worst people on planet Earth. How do you know? You have to check yourself. Where am I? Where's the Torah? Now, if you're deciding what the Torah is, for sure you're not in a good place. Why? You have to have a rabbi who you obey like he's God. He says this to halacha, you don't ask a question. Why? That's what the Torah says. You have to be afraid of him like you're afraid of God. Almost every single person this is like the most difficult mitzvah for them. Why? No one wants to subject themselves to anybody. Because everyone thinks that they're better than their rabbi. Everyone thinks that they're just as good at least. Everyone thinks that they can understand it without him. Everyone thinks a little bit too much of themselves, and it's very difficult for people. So this requires a destruction of your ego, which takes time. That's what Musar does. It reminds you of your flaws. And if you're a real person, you're a serious person, you're going to learn it, and that's going to make you a better vessel for Torah. On the other hand, if a person simply skips Musar, he'll become a Talmid Chacham that's a Rasha. Meaning, he'll know Torah, but he's going to be a Rasha Merusha. He'll finish Masechet Shabbat, he'll finish Masechet Ta'anit, he'll finish Masechet this and Masechet that, he'll read Midrashim, he'll read a lot of different things, but his wife is going to divorce him, his kids are going to hate him, the entire Keilah can't wait till he dies, and no one's going to show up to his funeral. Why? He's just this despicable human being. Despicable. How do you know? Look at what people are saying about you. Not the haters. Regular people. People are supposed to be your lovers. If your lovers are constantly complaining about you, there's something wrong. Surely a few people are going to dislike you. There's no question about that. But if the people that are supposed to like you are constantly complaining, if your wife is crying every week, there's something wrong with you. It's not just her. If your kids can't wait till you go to work, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. If your kids can't wait till you go away, there's something wrong with you. If your wife asks you, honey, are you going to a trip this week? Oh, no? Okay. All right. Like she's disappointed that you're not going away, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong. If your lovers can't wait to see you, there's something wrong with you, not with them. Surely there could be something wrong with them also, but for sure it's you also. So that's the thing. If your world around you is complaining and you just simply assume everyone is wrong, you are, Mr. Mashiach, you are the Mrs. Mashiach, you're always right and they're always wrong. Ooh.
Rabbi, what would you attribute it to? As I'm Israel, as Jewish people, generational, we've seen regression in family values, in traditions, in morals, and understandings. What would you attribute that to, and how can we stop it or prevent it and improve for future generations to come?
What's the reason why there's Yeridat HaDorot? What's the reason why we've deteriorated on a regular basis? One simple answer that Torah mentions time and time again. We actually learned a little bit of it this week in Ikvet the Meshicha. We've learned a lot about it. It's simply less Torah. When there's less Torah, there's less knowledge of God. When there's less knowledge of God, then there's more knowledge of man, and knowledge of man changes, is subjective, is full of arrogance, and simply a mistake. So the less Torah we know, the more mistakes we make, which in essence makes the people more wicked. When you rely more on the rules of man versus the rule of God, you are bound to make mistakes that will destroy the very same man that you were trying to protect. And as you see this in society today, just like, for example, this whole coronavirus craziness. From day one, I told you guys that the biggest danger of coronavirus is going to be not the virus, but the reaction to the virus. And that's exactly what ended up happening. Not because I'm some genius or prophet or nothing. It's simply, that's what the Torah says. That's what the Torah says. You look at how people react when they don't have a Kadosh Baruch Hu in their life. It's so dangerous, you're not even allowed to be in a room with somebody that does not have Yirat Shamayim by himself. If your friend does not have Yirat Shamayim, he's not afraid of God, you're not allowed to be in a room with him by himself. Why? He may kill you. When you have an entire government system that calls itself democratic, you have an entire anti-God society, and they're the ones that deciding the rules, and they're telling you, listen, this virus is a killer, this virus is this, we're shutting down everything, without really having a legitimate rhyme or reason, without having a legitimate way out of it. You're just pretty much waiting for people either to die or hopefully this works. You see that there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Especially when you see that whoever speaks against it is, quickly quieted, sometimes disappears like Clinton's friends. They always happen to disappear and die early. It's not, you see there's something wrong with the system. Again, I'm not saying that the conspiracy theories are right or wrong. I have no idea. I don't follow this stuff. But when so many people are saying right, and you're saying left, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. If an entire society is collapsing and you're saying everything is okay, there's something wrong. If there's a revolution in your backyard and you're acting like nothing is happening, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. So that's in essence what's happening. The less Torah the world has, the more they rely on the rules of man. And the rules of man, unfortunately, are flawed at best, biased, obviously, and evil at worst. And this is happening in the Jewish world, in the non-Jewish world, in the White House, in the Black House, in the Burgundy House, in the China House, in the Bangladesh House, in every house. The more Torah you add to your life, but not more Torah you just learn it. More Torah you learn and apply to your life, to the T. Just like as if Moshe Rabbeinu himself came and told you did it, the better your life is going to be. Not necessarily going to remove all your problems overnight, but it'll give you a reason for them. It'll give you a reason for all those problems, and it'll also give you a way to get out of it. But the less Torah we have, unfortunately, the more problems we're going to have, and the worse the generation will be. Last question for the night. Chavod, you haven't asked the question.
Rabbi, so, I need you to correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong. I'm sorry. No, you're right.
I heard you say you have to be a chacham to think like a thief.
Ken, you have to be a chacham to think like a thief. Meaning that the Mishnah has, I believe it's Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says to us that there is kelim. There are certain tools that become impure if they touch something impure. So if it's a dead carcass, it's impure. If it touches it, the kli becomes impure. So if you have a piece of metal, touches a dead animal, becomes impure. This is not really relevant in today's world because we don't have a better mikdash. So in essence, everything is impure because either you touched it or you touched somebody that touched it and you became impure. So you didn't have to touch a dead body for you to become impure because you probably hugged your father or your cousin or somebody that did touch a dead body at some point and he became impure and therefore you became impure. But nonetheless, the Torah says that at the time that there was a way to purify things, we were more conscious of things that were impure. But he says there are certain things that are impure without touching something that's impure, and these are the tools of the thieves. There's a hollow stick that a person that pretends to be homeless, but in reality is hiding the money inside it. Or another one that has a hollow stick that you give him the goods, and he goes to the market with the goods, and he comes back with less money than the goods. And you ask him, where's the money? He says, look, I don't have any pockets. This is all the money. Why? Because the money is hidden inside the stick. And so on and so forth. So the Mishnah says, that Rabbi Yochanan was teaching this. And he says to us, Oilim omar, oilim no omar. Woe to me if I teach this, woe to me if I don't teach it. Woe to me if I teach it and the thieves learn these different tools that maybe they didn't know how to steal with this hollow stick. Not every thief knows the same trade. But woe to me if I don't teach it and the thieves will think that the chachamim don't know their trade, don't know their ways. So what is the halacha? Halacha is we teach it anyway. Why? We don't care about these Reshaim. If these Reshaim want to use our Torah to make sins, let them fall on their face with the Torah. With making the sins. Why? Because we need to teach Torah and to show the Chachamim have literally Da'at Torah. So that means Chachamim knew everything about stealing, everything about the criminals, everything about witchcraft. The Chachamim needed to know witchcraft, which the Torah says, Machshefa lo techayeh. What is that? As a rule in the Torah, mitzvah deoraita. You see a machshefa, somebody that performs witchcraft, you have to kill him, according to the Torah. Not today, we don't have a Sanhedrin. But the point is, Sanhedrin sees a machshefa, someone that performs witchcraft, there's no tshuva for them, you have to kill them. You have to kill them. That's the law. But yet, the Sanhedrin themselves would learn witchcraft. What's the pshat? In order to identify witchcraft, you have to learn it. In order to know how to defend against witchcraft, you have to learn it. And that's how they knew it. Same reason of why each one member of the Sanhedrin had to know all 70 languages. Why? You cannot trust the translator. Can't trust a translator. You have to talk to the witness in his language. Why? Because the translator may be making a mistake. Maybe he's making a mistake, and in the end, that mistake caused the person to be guilty instead of innocent. So our Chachamim are not like judges of today with little headphones and a translating system. Our Chachamim must know all wisdoms. They needed to know the wisdoms of the criminals. Why? In order to know whether it's a crime or it's not a crime. In order to know whether it's witchcraft or not witchcraft. So in order to know the mind of a thief, you have to be a Chacham, not a thief. Why? Because a thief knows his mind, but not necessarily the mind of another thief, because the other thief could be a better thief than him. He knows how to rob banks. He knows how to rob art galleries. He knows how to rob his friend. One thief says, listen, I'm the greatest thief in the world. Watch, I can go to this tree, take this dove, pluck one feather out of it, and it won't even feel it, and I'll end up taking the dove and putting it in my pocket. Such a good thief. The other thief says, I'm so good that I will be able to take off your pants without you feeling it. He says, because I'll go do it. So the guy goes, climbs the tree, takes the dove, takes the plucks, wants to put it in his pocket, no pants. All right? The other guy says, listen, I took off your pants when you weren't prepared. Who's the better thief? Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will continue to teach us Torah. Be'ezrat Hashem will continue to help us do TeShuva. And Be'ezrat Hashem continue to do Kiruv, to help Am Yisrael do TeShuva. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.